Flesh on my tongue, iron in my lungs, blood on the snow, name on their shields, night in my veins, storm in my ears. Wolves trace our steps, God's count our kill. You are waiting for Valhalla, I can hear it in your roar. Every scar a burning banner, every heartbeat keeps the door. You are waiting for Valhalla as the crows begin to call. If I fall in thunder. You are waiting for Valhalla. Frost on the oars, breathe like white smoke. Eyes on the shore, fire in the dark. Oath on my tongue, salt on my cloak. If this is the end, let it leave a mark. You are waiting for Valhalla, I can hear it in your roar. Every scar a burning banner, every heartbeat keeps the door. You are waiting for Valhalla as the crows begin to call. If I fall in thunder. You are waiting for Valhalla. If I do not see the morning, carry my name in your mouth. Raise up the horn, pour the glory, let my children hear the shout. Hey! You are waiting for Valhalla, I can hear it in your roar. Hey! Every scar a burning banner, every heartbeat keeps the door. You are waiting for Valhalla as the crows begin to call. If we fall in thunder. You are waiting for Valhalla.
Mike's muted. Chris, your mic's muted too. Welcome, everybody. We're back for another Friday show. Excited about the show tonight, guys. A lot going on, obviously, and I'm joined with our first guest. We're going to have multiple guests joining us on the show tonight. Most of you will already know who Chris is, as he's been on the show multiple times. Regular guest at this point, Chris Paiota from the FBI. I'll let you introduce yourself with a real intro here in a second. And then first thing we're going to talk about, guys, and we're going to be joined by Jesse on Fire here in about 20 minutes as well. We're going to talk the Charlie Kirk case, the new craziness, and then everything regarding the FBI and also the firings in the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, and let Chris help us understand what's going on in the chaos. So, Chris, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience for anybody who might not know you. Also, guys, Chris's YouTube channel is pinned in the pinned comment. Make sure you guys go and subscribe and support his channel as well.
Yeah, great to be back with you and your audience, Nate. Thanks for the opportunity. And again, thanks for anybody who goes to my YouTube site. Appreciate all the help we can get on that. So Chris Paiota here, spent 25 years with the FBI, worked in various capacities, national security, law enforcement, ran field offices, was fortunate to be in leadership positions up to the third level of most senior leaders in the organization. And I got to see and hear a lot of things that were quite frankly disturbing at times, and also
Yeah.
saw how the organization ran, and also was able to be part of a lot of the discussions and the political things that I saw that was absolute just bullshit. So again, great to be here, and I invite any and all questions about the FBI. The only thing I can't talk about is anything classified.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So, I mean, there's obviously a lot to talk about on this front right now, Chris, from the new reports coming, the new ATF report regarding the bullet potentially or inconclusively matching the gun. We'll want to talk about that tonight. I want to talk about, first, I kind of just want to talk about, in general, how did we get here? I mean, we're now at a point where it looks like the entire Justice Department, the heads, are either resigned or being fired. Bongino has resigned. Pam Bondi has been fired. We were just talking about before we came in, the Kalshi odds, the betting odds of Kash Patel being fired have risen to like 80% on rumors that Kash Patel will also be fired with his, all his issues and the recent email scandal. Chris, how do we get to this point where you're basically firing the entire Department of Justice within 1 year, basically? I mean, it just seems like a clown show, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, you got a lot of factors converging, right? You had a lot of folks that were holdovers from the previous administration, right? And they all kind of leaned in that direction. So when this administration came in, they decided they were going to try and get rid of all of those people who were more left-minded. Okay, so there's one of your factors. And also the appointment of certain folks looks more like a lousy version of Celebrity Apprentice.
Right.
We have
we have great point.
Yeah, but we have people being put in positions because the president likes them or he feels that they're loyal, not because they were the most capable or competent people to do the jobs, which was another factor right there. And also, I think for the attorney general who was just fired, she walked into a hostile Department of Justice, right? She walked into a very hostile environment, and those people didn't do anything to help her at all. So she didn't help anything to do. She didn't help herself either. She completely mishandled every issue that was handed to her. Yep. Okay, but there wasn't anybody standing next to her saying, "Hey, Madam AG, how about if you shut your mouth?" Or how about if you say this instead? Or how about if we don't say this, right? So she didn't have that ring of people around her to help protect her from herself. Same thing with Patel. He comes in. He's got Dan Bongino as his deputy director, which, I mean, that was just a complete and total,
made no sense to begin with. Could you explain real quick, Chris? I remember from you explaining it to us, but to the audience, the difference between the director of the FBI and the deputy director, because a lot of people, I think, would, like me, initially thought the director of the FBI is the guy running the show, but you would explain to us that's not really the case when you're talking about who's actually running the FBI.
Right. The way it used to work, not under the new Kash Patel FBI, but the deputy director was a career FBI agent. The director is a political appointee. The director is the bellwether official. He is the strategic leader of the organization. He is the political guy. The deputy director is the operations chief. They oversee all of the daily operations, the investigations, all of the workings of the organization. Because if you bring somebody like Kash Patel or Robert Mueller, Christopher Wray, James Comey, they don't know how the FBI works. Right. So you need that career guy under you to say, here's how the operations go. This is how the investigations work. And then the director and the deputy get together and say, okay, what direction are we going to move this? Or, hey, here's the kind of heat I'm taking from the White House or the Department of Justice, and how are we going to manage these issues, or heat from the Hill, whatever. So that's the distinction between the two. One's a political appointee. The other one is a career FBI agent, very senior and very knowledgeable.
So it's funny because that's almost exactly how a special forces ODA's leadership works. The officer that's the team leader, technically the guy in charge. He's there as basically the political appointment to deal with the interface with command, to make the team look good. That's his whole function. The team sergeant, the highest ranking NCO, who's been on the team for 10 years. The officer's been on the team for maybe a year. The team sergeant's been on the team for 10 years. He's the one that actually is in charge and runs day-to-day operations.
Right.
But to me, it kind of seems funny the way you talk about that. Kash Patel, not the person you want to make your organization look good. In fact, he's done about the worst possible. And then Dan Bongino, the guy you need to have the experience of actually running it, has no idea how the FBI runs either. So you almost tag teamed it with two people in the worst possible positions you could put them in.
Well, I think what you did was you put them both at a position of disadvantage of their own accord, right?
Right.
But neither of them understood and knew what they didn't know what they didn't know. And they came in with certain ideas and certain beliefs and practices that they wanted to put in place, but they didn't know how the organization ran, and they didn't have support of the people inside the organization to make some of those changes. And they imposed these changes, and you know how that works.
Yep.
People will give you compliance; they won't give you performance. Right? They'll say, "Okay,
boss."
Yeah. Right? And that's what you were seeing for a long time. And I'll tell you one last thing with Dan Bongino and those guys. From what I was told, and I try to stay away from the building. I don't talk with them. I don't, but from what I was told, man, it was a different environment up there completely. And all I was told, and comes from a very trusted person, there was a complete lack of professionalism, and it was run like a frat house.
Shocker. Nobody's going to believe that, Chris. It's almost like it's almost like watching the FBI director chug beers in the locker room of a hockey game. Shows a little bit of a lack of professionalism, or being, the frat house approach, like you've mentioned.
Well, but hey, think about this, right? When you were in the military and you have like full bird colonels and generals showing up at functions, they're not shotgunning beers and doing stuff like that. Even if they would normally do it at home or with their friends, they're not doing that because they have an image and they have a professional, stoic appearance that people expect from them.
Yeah.
And I think that's lost upon the current leadership, as well as, the departed leadership. When Mr. Bongino went back to his podcast and started revving up the tough guy act and, all the kind of just the antics and the nonsense. What does that do for the organization? I was hoping he'd come out and be a good ambassador and say, hey, folks, let me tell you something. I used to talk a lot of shit about these people. Now that I was on the inside, here's how it really works. And this is why certain things happen. And you may not like it, but you can understand it.
Yeah.
Right? I thought maybe we would get
he did
some
the
of that.
opposite. He came out and he declared war on everybody, and it's this big tough guy, and I did everything I was supposed to do, and we brought justice to everyone. And it's like, dude, but we can all look at what you did with the Epstein files. We can all look at everything you guys showed up to in the last year, from the Charlie Kirk assassination to the DC shooting to the Brown shooting. All of it's been botched. Every single time it's been botched. And I hate to place blame on the agents, because again, working in the FBI or the military, you do what you're commanded to do. And that's going to bring me into, let's talk about the crime scene at the Charlie Kirk case, because we're obviously seeing now that maybe rushing through that 48-hour investigation and shutting the entire thing down wasn't a great idea, because as we've talked about already, obviously the big bombshell now is that the bullet fragments found in Charlie can't be conclusively matched to the murder weapon. And let's talk about evidence first, because you understand evidence. What you're already seeing people say is that doesn't matter at all. And to me, I think when we're talking about a high profile murder, and we're talking about a rifle that was not found at the scene of the crime, it was found 500 meters away on somebody else's private property. You're going to have to, you want the rifle as evidence, I would assume. And if you can't conclusively match, and I think maybe you can help people with, because people are saying that doesn't mean anything in the court of law. I'm pretty sure that if evidence isn't conclusive, that's a big, big deal. It's like DNA. If saying, well, we can't conclusively match his DNA to this, but we're going to use that as evidence anyway. I can't imagine that's how evidence works, right, Chris? If you say we can't, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't think that's how it works in a court of law, right?
No, not in this or any other instance. I mean, when you're bringing evidence like that, my equation is very simple: bullet, gun, shooter. If you can't connect that logic chain, your case has been injured. And in this instance, with the inconclusive ATF findings, and again, we haven't seen the actual ATF report, right? So we're going by what the court filings and what the defense team is putting out into the media. And all the defense has to do is introduce doubt. They don't have to say that it was wrong. They just have to introduce doubt.
Reasonable
so that's
doubt.
what they're doing. Yeah, that's what they're doing right now. And here's the problem. I've seen the word mismatch used a lot. There was not a mismatch. There was no match. Right?
Oh, okay. That's that's a lot bigger deal. Right. That's a big deal. Right? People are trying to say it's the people who are very insistent that the FBI narrative is true. TPUSA types are saying none of this matters. And
it does matter because if you cannot place that bullet fragment or what I'll call it material, whatever was recovered,
which we don't know yet. We're still waiting on that. Yeah.
Right. If you can't match that to the actual weapon that was recovered, that can be then associated with or being used by the actual identified shooter, your case is in trouble. Because somebody said to me the other day when I said that, they said, well, there's a lot of other evidence that exists out there, such as, oh, he was on the roof. So what?
Right.
Oh, he was acting strangely. So what?
Right.
People are strange. And I said, what they're going to do is they're going to write this off as he is mentally ill. They're going to say and what about all the notes and all the, that Shakespearean prose and all that BS, right?
Yep.
They're going to say he's mentally ill. He's a narcissist. He was looking for attention.
Yeah.
Didn't mean all these things are going to be explained away. And again, they don't have to disprove it, Nate. They just have to introduce that doubt.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about of what they'll be able to do. There's all the time when there's a big high profile murder, you have people actually come out who didn't commit the murder, who try to take credit for it to become famous. That's a real thing that happens on these.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, Chris, with the evidence, I feel like you got to be able to, again, this rifle was found 500 meters away on somebody else's private property, which means it was found in somebody's backyard, which means you can't just automatically say, this is this random kid that was on the roof's rifle. They say they do have supposedly the DNA that's on the rifle. The Tyler's DNA is on it, but there's also, we know, 6 other people's DNA and fingerprints on that rifle. So for that, doesn't that become a problem for the evidence too? If you can't match the bullet to the weapon, you can't even prove it was ever fired. Now you got 7 different people's DNA on this rifle. How do you prove that Tyler's the one who took the shot?
One of the main problems when you have multiple DNA samples present is what they call disentanglement of DNA. Right? So even if you're successful in getting good, clean samples of disentangled DNA, like 7 separate samples that are clean and they're considered to be good enough to do the analysis, that doesn't mean those people are going to come up in the CODIS system that the FBI manages for DNA.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean that those samples are going to come up. They can come up negative in CODIS. And, okay, now we have 6 mystery people who handled this weapon.
Oh, I feel like that's even worse because now it's like, okay, well, if I can show it was this FBI agent, this sheriff, this person, maybe we're okay. But if we got 4 people we can't even match this DNA to, how do we? And the bullet fragments don't match the gun. How are they going to tie that rifle to the murder? To Tyler, all of those.
Yeah, the bullet fragments have not been clearly, like I said, it's inconclusive. There has been no definitive, this is not the gun, this is not the bullet. So that hasn't been determined yet. But as far as the people who handle the weapon, if there are police officers or anybody else, they'll do elimination DNA samples. They do elimination prints, right? When cops handle stuff, they do elimination prints at crime scenes and stuff. So they know, hey, this is the cops, and they fat fingered these things and, whatever, right? But in this instance, I mean, I think the defense really got it was early Christmas for those guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it was such a high profile case. And like you mentioned, I think this is the one thing everybody keeps ignoring is the idea of beyond reasonable doubt to convict someone of murder. And if you're trying to tell me there's no doubt in this case as it was, I mean, I even said, I was like, okay, if you can show me proof that the 30-06 was used and Tyler used it, okay, I'll get on board. But then immediately that kind of goes out the window. And now, ugh.
Nate, this whole thing was handled in a substandard fashion from start to finish by everybody. The way the crime scene was not secured, the way the evidence was, well, lack of evidence was handled, the way the crime scene was then released, and then they paved over the area, and then everything was a disaster. The whole thing, the way it was managed in social media by the FBI. I mean, you can go through this comedy of errors and comedy of bad decisions up to the point where this person turned themselves in to local law enforcement, right? So I think this could be a case study on how not to do shit. Right?
And Chris, I want to get your take on this, because you just mentioned until he turned himself in, and that story was botched. Initially, what we had heard was his dad saw the rifle on the news and knew it was his rifle, and so he turned in Tyler. Well, we found out later that rifle that was the rifle we've all seen, that's just a stock Getty image of a rifle. That's not the actual rifle from the case. So that fell apart. Then we had the actual sheriff in charge of the case came out at a press conference, and this was 6 months ago, and explained how actually it was a family friend, a fellow sheriff, who was the one that actually went to the house to convince Tyler to turn himself in.
Right.
But this also happened about 3 hours after the report, the ATF big bombshell came out. This happened, Chris. I want to get your take on this. The head sheriff in charge of the investigation resigned like 2 hours after this bombshell report came out. Now, is that coincidence? Maybe that's coincidence, but I mean, that's a very specific, perfect timing within a few hours of coincidence. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that gentleman is watching the ship sink, right? Mm-hmm. And he does not want to be part of that sinking ship. He's eligible to retire. He's getting out. Okay. And that's all there is to it from my perspective. If he thought this was going to be a win, and he thought this was going to be one of those momentous cases that he's going to come out some kind of hero, he would have stuck around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great point.
I think when you see guys like, when that report comes out and he drops his papers
immediately.
He's out of it. Right.
I think it was like 3 hours after the initial report dropped that bombshell news came afterwards. And to me, that was not to say that he's involved in some cover up or anything like that. No. But I thought the same of that, of him going, no, I know how effed up this is behind the scenes. I'm out. I don't want nothing to do with this, which makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah. What was I gonna ask you? I was coming along those lines of the sheriff. Oh, other things that we saw. I mean, and once Jesse's in here, we'll talk about it. But all the other people at the crime scene doing weird stuff. George Zen immediately dropping his pants, saying, "I'm the shooter. I'm the shooter."
Yeah.
The curly-haired dude that we know from the craziness we'll talk about here in a little bit, turning around, celebrating, all of that. Mm-hmm. And then also, this is what we were going to get into, was the big bombshell with Joe Kent actually coming out and saying to everyone what we all heard rumors of. And that was the fact that the FBI shut down Joe Kent, Tulsi Gabbard, the National Counterterrorism Center, and we learned from Mike Glover, the CIA also was shut down from looking into foreign involvement. This, I think, is you're the only person that can sort of answer this for us, because we don't really understand how the FBI works behind the scenes. Is that a normal thing to happen? And why in the world, in a rushed 24-hour investigation, would you, on one of the highest profile killings, wouldn't you want help from the CIA or the National Counterterrorism Center in like helping you figure out, was there foreign involvement? Seems like even if that foreign involvement was Iran, it was Russia, it was China. Why do we not want to know this? And why would we shut down other agencies from helping us as the FBI?
All right. A few things there. The NCTC was one of my primary partners in one of my roles. I was a director of the Terrorist Screening Center. They were a very close partner of mine. I also worked with them in their earlier iterations after 9/11 and stuff like that before they became the NCTC. So we worked with them closely. And here are a couple of issues that I just like to put out for people to think about. The FBI was criticized terribly after 9/11 for not sharing information with the rest of the community. Okay. So the FBI gave its access to its record management system, where all the case information is. They gave access to the agency and to NCTC once it came online as NCTC. So they could look at certain things. The problem that we ran into was people started looking at things they really shouldn't have been looking at. So public corruption cases, not for them.
Okay? Right.
And certain counterintelligence operations, not for them unless there was a formal read-in partnership, all that good stuff.
That makes sense for stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where we would tell them, hey, you guys can't see that stuff. But any other counterterrorism related thing, weapons of mass destruction, have at it. Okay. So they did have access. We gave them access to the record management system. In this instance, though, when they were doing their research and queries and they were doing their data mining out of there, they were probably coming up with questions that the Bureau just didn't want to answer. You know that old saying, you don't ask the questions if you don't want the answers. And I think these guys had the Bureau had a pretty cut and dried, hey, this is this kid. He does this. He's a leftist. He's whatever. And we're done. And then when
they had their narrative that they wanted to go with, or what they may have believed, and that was going to be it.
This is our case. This is what we're doing. Yeah. Joe Kent shows up and starts looking at this with foreign, potential foreign angles. The agency starts looking at it too. And a lot of people don't realize this, but NCTC has a very, I would say, close family lineage with the agency. Okay. I'll leave it at that. So when they come up and say, well, wait a minute, we might have to look at these things. We're not saying there is, but we should rule out anything. That's when the Bureau cut them off, because you can't go to court with that stuff and then it becomes discoverable.
Okay. So they don't want anything found out beyond that.
Hell no. Because that stuff becomes discoverable. And then they're going to start, that's when other questions start kind of rolling in there if they want to make it part of the case. So that's why I think primarily they shut that off from not only the Bureau, but I guarantee Department of Justice probably told them, hey, shut that off. Right?
Well, to me, Chris, and this is where I think this becomes a huge issue we talk about professionalism in the FBI, because as Americans, what we want is the truth. We don't want our government agencies saying, hey, this is what we want the case to be, so this is what we're going with, and we're going to shut down everything, and we're going to scope the narrative to be this. That's not what the American people want, and that's not what we expect out of the FBI, right? What we expect out of the FBI is you're going to run down every lead. You're going to make sure everything is crossed off. We know it's not China. We know it's not Russia. We've done this, this, and this. Not just like, hey, we showed up, this is what we think it is. 24 hours later, or within 4 days, they had already put forward the charging documents, and a lot of the stuff in the charging documents is just wrong, objectively wrong now, because it was done so early. And we got Jesse in here.
What's up, guys? Jess? How are you?
There he is.
Good.
What's up, Chris?
And Jess, we're just talking about Joe Kent's being shut down, and the FBI also shutting down the CIA from looking into the Charlie Kirk case. And Chris just ran us through sort of how the intelligence works between them. And so Chris, let's say if you were in charge in this type of situation in the FBI and you had a high profile murder case like this early, we're talking about 48 hours in. Are you coming in there doing a quick 24-hour investigation, shutting everybody down, not letting anyone look into this, and just saying we're good? This is what we're going with? I can't imagine this is what the FBI would typically do.
Nate, 24 hours, you don't even know what the hell's going on yet.
Right.
I mean, you're getting macro information that is emotionally charged. It is adrenaline driven and largely incorrect. So it takes you a day to sort through the BS and say, what is actually going on? Ground truth, no kidding. And then when you start putting that together is when you start forming your investigative strategy after you make things safe, after you look for, victims and you do all your immediate type of things. That's when you start doing investigative strategy. You start looking at, what are we doing here? That's 24 hours. That goes by in a blink of an eye in one of those type of incidents. One of the problems in this case, if I remember properly, was that the FBI director was not happy with the, I would say, up tempo out there. Okay. And he flew out there himself, and that's when we had the story about him wanting a SWAT jacket and all that garbage.
And a gun,
the women's medium windbreaker.
Yeah. So that's when that happened, because he flew out there to take charge. And I'm thinking, that is not your job.
Right.
That is not your job. And if you don't have faith in your people out there, then you got to get new people, or you send the deputy, or you send one of the other folks out there from counterterrorism division or Prim division, senior leader, to go out there and put foot to ass if need be.
And had he ever done that? I mean, I know he'd only been in there for a little while, but like in any time before or since, had he gone on site that we're known of and been like, hey, I gotta get involved?
Yeah, he tries to
Jesse,
do that.
Hold on one sec. Wait, 1 sec, Chris. Jesse, your camera is bouncing everywhere, bro.
Oh, really? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. Sorry, Chris.
No problem. I think what he tries to do is he's trying to be, more of an agent, agent than the actual head of the organization. And that, that's okay if you want to play FBI agent, but not in this instance and not from that role. Okay.
Yeah.
And my thing is when I used to send people out to a site, I'd send leadership to say, here are the objectives. Here's what you got to do. This is what has to happen. I got to know these things. If you want me to keep these people out of your stuff and out of your back pocket, you got to feed me information in this frequency. And they would say, okay, got it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to do that. He's never run these things. He was a line attorney at DOJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we're talking about a massive, insanely complicated crime scene, by the way. I mean, when you look at that auditorium, 3,000 people involved, chaos everywhere.
Right.
That's not an easy crime scene. That's not an easy target, even for coming from somebody pulling off a hit. Like, all of that is super complicated. There's so much digital going involved. You got all the cell phone cameras everywhere. To me, this type of thing seems like this would have been a long investigation that you want to get right before you just slap charging documents and say, we got them.
And then, Nate, have you asked Chris about the gun sniffing dog story yet?
No, we haven't got to that yet.
Okay.
We're not there yet. We'll talk a little bit about that, which we could do. I want to backtrack. Well, do we want to backtrack? I was going to have us talk about the curly haired dude. And
we've never, the three of us together have never talked about
what's his name? Sorry, I forget
he's known publicly as David, but his real name is James Rawlinson.
James Rawlinson. All right. I wanted to real quick talk about that as well, because for everybody that didn't know, Jesse was the one that sort of initially figured this entire thing out, and he's talked about it all on his show. Chris got involved and helped, and this is where I mean, like, just sort of breakdowns in FBI work, Chris. It's like, why was a YouTuber the one who was figuring out this type of stuff and then giving this to the FBI? Like, shouldn't the FBI have everybody saw the viral guy doing the dances and like turned around. Obviously, it looked like he knows where the shooter is. It seems like he would have been like a prime suspect that you might want to look into for maybe this guy was involved, and they just had no interest, and it was a random YouTuber who monitored this guy's Twitter account who finds out he's got crazy, bizarre stuff going on. Like, how does this all happen?
Well, I think what you have is organizational laziness, mediocrity, right? Lack of leadership, lack of investigative curiosity, I used to call it. Right?
I like that.
And it's a lack of investigative curiosity. You have this couple of people acting very strangely. You should have had a couple of agents knee deep in their business right away.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Someone cheering in the direction of the shooter right after the shot.
Yeah. And even if they explained it away, and even if you can come back and say, yeah, they're just two weird people, but you ruled it out. You figured out what the angles were. You took away mystery, and you can explain, and you can get the investigative timeline and the investigative methodologies all lined up. And what Jesse did on his own investigative work, which was much better than the FBI's, by the way, he put together a rational model of what could have been going on, some scenarios. He did a great job on that. But we were met with, again, bureaucratic indifference, mediocrity, and it's that malaise that has taken over the Bureau, where when I was a young Bureau guy, we used to get our tails kicked when we'd come back, and the old guys would say, did you do this? Well, no. Why not? Well, did you do this? No. Why not? And then it'd be like, did you ask him this? No. Why not? All right, get out. Go. Get back. Go back. Oh, but we don't want to do that. We look stupid. Yes, you do. Go. Right? It was that kind of thing. And that's how you learn to do those things, where now the leadership just isn't there. The old guys who are willing to put their foot in your behind and say, this is what you're going to do, and here's how this is going to work. You got to worry about now people being unhappy and getting, filing EEO suits and all that other.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. But yeah, so the Bureau should have been all over those guys. And if they did interview them at some point, okay, but it doesn't seem like
it's just an interview. Like, what do you think they're going to say? You think they're going to be all, yes, I am involved in a large organization that is working to,
right. Yeah.
They even if they did a cursory thing, that's what I'm talking about. It's that bureaucratic indifference that's kind of seeped into things, and that mediocrity that is accepted now, because you don't want to make anybody feel bad about themselves, as opposed to when I was younger in the organization, you get your head torn off.
Yeah. And so, Chris, real quick, Jess, you know why I think this is so important to understanding how the FBI carried out this investigation? The fact that no one looked into this, and Jesse was the one that does that. Tells me when people try to say, "Oh, well, the FBI did all of this investigation behind the scenes," you just haven't seen what they've done yet. And I'm like, well, I kind of know some things that they didn't do, and if they didn't investigate the guy who turned around, stared at the shooter, and cheered and laughed right when the gunshot went off, then it tells me you probably didn't do a whole lot of extra work on anything else, if I had to guess.
Well, Nate, I'll tell you what, that's not extra work. That is the work.
Okay. Just doing the job. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that is the job. The only thing I could say, and I'll try to give my former colleagues some latitude, is I don't know if when they were splitting up some of the to-do lists, so to speak, after the event, I don't know if the locals said, hey, we'll take care of these guys.
Right. Yeah. The sheriff's department, which maybe they did, and maybe they didn't do a good job, and now that's why the sheriff has decided to resign.
And again, I don't know for sure, but I'm saying is I'll give my former colleagues a little bit of latitude. Maybe the locals went out and said, we'll handle these couple of people. We'll take care of this. And then they went out and did what they did. And here's another problem. The FBI used to go in and just stomp all over everybody, which wasn't the right way to do it either, but they didn't care. They were saying, you guys suck, get out of the way. And now they're so scared of getting a complaint against them that they'll tiptoe around and let other people do things in a maybe substandard fashion, and it hurts the whole case. The same thing with this kidnapping, right? The whole Guthrie thing.
Can I say something about that? Can I say something so I don't forget? Did you guys know? I literally just learned this the other day that Stephanie Guthrie is the journalist that first sat down with Virginia Giuffre, who is the original Epstein witness that broke the whole story. I didn't either, dude. And like the person who put it in their video, I don't think they realized what they were saying. They're like, so this is her, because the original Epstein thing all started with Virginia Giuffre when she came forward, and Stephanie Guthrie put her on the show, and it was her first big like national televised, news story about Epstein and the energy. And I thought about that. I was like, whoa, dude. Because that's like, I've always been looking at that case going, this is something weird, dude. Like, this has to be like, it's got to be like the brother-in-law, and they like, they're inheriting something or whatever. This story's too weird. That was the first time I'm like, what if it was them? Like, I mean, it's the only thing outside of that, I just look at that case. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Well, that's kind of like some serious 7 layers of Kevin Bacon shit right there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but what I'm saying is in both cases, you can see where the investigative effort was inconsistent. There were breaks in the investigative timeline and strategy. They didn't have a good investigative model. And what that does then, Nate, is gives it provides gaps that people don't understand what was going on or what was intended. And that's when you get a lot of the alternate theories and all of they're keeping things from us. And sometimes I will tell you this, peeking out from behind the curtain, there are times when they just don't know what the hell is going on.
Wow. Yeah. That's what it feels like, though.
Yeah. They just haven't figured it out yet. And I think Jesse and I talked recently, but I said the FBI operates on two data points. Either they're seen as incompetent clowns or they're seen as omnipotent.
Yeah.
better
Right?
better to be seen as omnipotent than remove the
Yeah.
doubt and make them know that you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just keep your mouth shut, and then when
Yeah.
they think you're omnipotent, you just okay. That's that whole mystique of we know everything, but we're just not going to tell you. No,
Yeah.
actually,
Right.
we don't know jack shit about what's going on,
Yeah.
and we don't want to admit that.
Who would you go? So like for resources wise, okay. So like let's take the exact the situation that we were in, and like just to thinking about this as you were talking about it in terms of I wouldn't even say like I found it exactly, but I brought attention to a post on a video, and then the community brought a bunch of stuff to me, which then I shared and all of that. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where
Right.
like community sourcing tips is probably, it has to be one of the most valuable things that you guys do. But what I was going to ask is like, let's say that a similar situation happens, or let's just say someone inside the Bureau who is in Utah decides this guy who turned towards the camera and cheered and then put out this video where he could it's like out of a movie, leftist terrorist addresses the nation. It's like, who would you go to go, let's get in on this guy. Let's tap this guy's phones. Let's get into his shit. And let's see if this guy's a player or not. Like, how would that happen internally? Is that something you could talk about?
I mean, you mean if the Bureau was going to cover it?
Like the Bureau saw those videos of him right after the crime, and they were like, this guy might be involved in something much bigger. I think we need to put resources on this guy and see who he is for real and what his, what's this guy's story. And, he ends up being,
the easiest way to do it would have been make it a national security case. It takes away some of the criminal investigative restrictions. And then you go to whoever, counterterrorism division, counterintelligence division, and you say, hey, we got to get technical surveillance. And that runs you into the world of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which then you go out and you do your technical intercept collection, things of that sort. So that's the most buzzsaw way to do it. And then later you can say, there's no nexus here. And then you move on, right? If you really wanted to do it in an expedited fashion, that's the way they would probably do it.
Yeah.
Because when you do criminal, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope, you're good.
No,
You're good. Go ahead.
I would say if you do a criminal investigative effort and you're going under Title III for intercept, there's a lot more restriction. There's a lot more predication that you have to do, a lot more logistical and administrative things that have to happen outside of the national security arena.
See, that's the kind of thing that I try to think about where, like, obviously if you give the government the ability to kind of, for lack of a better, like a phrase, trump card, the normal, processes and bureaucracy, it's like, and people are like, oh, yada, yada, yada. You're like, dude, they need that shit sometimes. Like sometimes you need to be able to quickly, get into something if there seems like there may be like an imminent threat of,
Right.
Oh yeah.
Well, here's a criticism. After 9/11, we were criticized, the FBI, because we didn't share information between the national security side and the criminal side of the investigative work. And we were getting blasted for it. Why didn't you share this? By the same court that said we weren't allowed to. Right?
Wow.
Same court says you cannot share this information because
The
of the
government's
difference
created stuff
in,
like that.
Yeah, they called it the Chinese wall. If you ever heard that term, right? So they said, you're not allowed to share this information. It has to be passed through the courts. We'll tell you what you can share. And then after 9/11, they're saying, why weren't you sharing? And we were sitting there saying, well, what are you talking about? You're the ones who told us we couldn't.
Yep, that makes sense. All right,
Yeah.
I want to backtrack just a little bit because I wanted to get your take on this, Chris. This has been a huge part of the recent story, again involving the rifle, and that was, as far as we know, the initial sweep that was done by the sheriff's department did not actually find this rifle. It wasn't until the FBI showed up later and did a cursory search that the FBI found the rifle. Now, why this is a big deal is that the sheriffs were using bomb dogs, and I'm sure you're aware of how bomb dogs works. I mean, they're smelling the explosive debris or the explosive powder. And those dogs, I mean, we used them pretty much on every mission in combat. Those dogs can smell explosive powder from a mile away. And the dogs weren't able to locate the rifle at all, and it would have been 100 meters away from them. The FBI then shows up and walks straight to this rifle in the chicken coop and is able to then find it, which to all of us is getting very, very bizarre. I mean, there's everywhere, everybody ranging from, the sheriff's department's inept to the FBI planted the rifle. I'm willing to go that far myself to say the FBI walked up there with a rifle and planted it. I don't personally think that, but that is extremely bizarre. That
Super weird.
the sheriff's department can't find this with bomb dogs, but then, or Chris, what I think a lot of people think is, well, the reason the bomb dogs couldn't find it is because the gun wasn't shot. If the gun's not shot, there's no explosive powder residue for the dog to smell, and so the dog doesn't find it, but a human being does, which if that's the case and the bullet also doesn't match and there's all this DNA on the rifle, at some point here, if you're the defense, you're almost wiping the rifle off, not just as not to be used for the prosecution, but they're even they're motioning to put the rifle in as exculpatory evidence for the defense now.
And I'll add one thing on top of that, because I put this together at the same time. Was there the official story is that they released the images of the rifle, and Tyler Robinson's father recognized.
Yeah, we talked about that, Jess.
Yeah,
we talked about that already.
And there's never been a picture. So, like, was there even a rifle ever recovered? Period.
Well, a couple of things on that. I hate to say that people were inept when I wasn't there. Okay, but maybe there was some ineptitude, first of all, and if you're looking at the police department and how, I don't know what their protocol was for how they did their sweep.
Yeah, that we don't know. We're just, that's about the minimum we know, is that there was bomb dogs on scene. Right. They did not locate the rifle. The FBI did. That's generically all we actually know. And so just for that, we would be like remiss to say, oh, well, they did exactly this, this, and this. We don't know that, but we do know those things.
Yeah. I don't know, again, what the police's the local police with their bomb dogs, or what the protocol was. The FBI might have done a larger grid search in the vicinity and ran up on that property and said, here's some enclosed structures. I personally, if I was involved, I would have said, you better fit anything can fit in. I don't give a god, whatever. You better check it. And if you don't check it, you better go check it, right? So they may have done a more thorough search. I don't think they were just that good that they walked right up to the chicken coop and said, hey, there's a rifle in here.
Well, let's hope not, because if they did, that would be very suspicious.
Yeah.
Right. That'd be kind of odd. So I really don't know what level of where we can have the crossover from incomplete search to incompetence to did the Bureau do a better grid search? I don't know. And I'll tell you this much. There were enough people out there, Bureau people and maybe some others. I'm sure it was a convention. If somebody tried to plant a weapon, somebody would have said, hey, what are you doing? Somebody would have seen it.
Yeah, I'm not in the law that they walked up there with a 30-06 and put there. I don't think that myself, but do you think? Do you think? But all of this, we talked about reasonable doubt. All of these things, it's not just one thing that factors into this rifle. Now you have a pattern of inconsistencies building with this rifle.
You're going to introduce ineptitude. You're going to introduce, what was your grid search plan? No, we didn't have one. I mean, you're gonna get the jury to look at this and say, what exactly were you guys doing?
Right.
If I was in defense, I would have the sheriff's department tell me exactly where they searched, so that if they searched in that area, you're like, so you guys searched this area first, didn't find it. You just throw doubt. Where did this come from? Right. So all of those things, you're right, Nate. It's going to become a convergence of several different streams of doubt.
Yeah.
And did you? Here's another one. This is what we used to always get this. Do you have a search protocol? Yes or no? Did you follow your search protocol? Yes or no? Oh, you didn't. So what else haven't you done? I mean, they take you right to hell on that.
Chris, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jesse. Go ahead. I was just going to say real quick, and that's a big deal in the court of law. If you can demonstrate that law enforcement officials didn't do their job properly, that's going to be massive for the defense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's big for them, because then you start introducing what else did you take a shortcut on? What else didn't you do? What else didn't you document? I mean, it just goes, they just, like I said, they run you right off the cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was going to ask though is this was a story that got reported. So there was the huge story about how the defense motion said that the fragment of the bullet didn't match the rifle, and that was a huge part of a very short news cycle. And the next day, I saw something that I thought was a potentially bigger story, but it was completely swallowed by the bullet fragment. And I wanted to ask you if this is normal. So in that same court session, the district attorney, because all of that session was still all about when they were going to do the trial. They're arguing, all of that, right? So the district attorney said that they still do not have a bunch of the evidence that they need to prosecute this case, and they're waiting on it from the federal government, from the ATF and the FBI.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? Could possibly and he said they had just met with them on it and they would have it in May. And I'm like, that's 8 months after he got assassinated. What could possibly take 8 months and be reliable evidence that would be, I don't know, that prosecution would use in a capital murder case?
Yeah. Two things on that. One, when I saw the report on the ATF, the results from the defense, and then there was a statement saying the FBI is running their own analysis. That used to be forbidden.
Yeah, I saw that
it
too.
Was one or the other, right? Mm-hmm. The FBI would do it or ATF would do it when it came to ballistics and things like that.
I didn't know that they were doing that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and I had to mediate several kind of pissing matches between the FBI and ATF in my last role because of that, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason they don't do that is because, okay, ATF says it's inconclusive. Now the Bureau comes back and says, "Oh, we made a match." It's like,
I said that in my video, Chris. I didn't realize, I didn't think about it at the time, but I literally said in my video on this, what happens when the ATF says it's not a match and the FBI says it is a match? What the hell the hell happens in the court of law then?
Oh, the second and third order consequences on that are ridiculous. Or what happens when the Bureau comes back and says, we've also drawn an inconclusive. Now you just bolstered the defense's case.
You're right. Now you have, you did.
Okay. It's a bad outcome either way. You either throw suspicion on the FBI for juking it, or you confirm for sure that the evidence does not. Yeah.
Well, it's bad and worse. That's what you got, right? So that's one thing that has to be considered. Second thing is, as far as the timeline goes, there is no reason that couldn't have been done in a matter of days.
Yeah. They matched the DNA evidence according to Cash 5 days. 5 days after they had him, they had his DNA from the towel and the screwdriver. Do you know what, Nate? I wanted to ask you this too. On the same thing with the rifle, the round fragment. What I was saying is that I don't understand how there could only be a fragment inside of the body, given that there's no exit wound. I mean, it's an obvious question. Obviously,
and it's a 30-06.
But people were saying, they're like, oh yeah, but it frags. I'm like, no, but the front of it frags. There's still a base solid piece that would be in the body, and an autopsy missing that makes no sense.
So they didn't I talked about this in my video on it. This is where it makes the 30-06 even sketchier, is because now what we're talking about is, okay, if there's only a tiny fragment of the bullet, and we're talking about a 30-06 bullet, which is huge,
massive.
The odds that hit the soft tissue in a human neck, hit basically a chicken bone, which is your vertebrae, and that round just evaporated into dust other than one tiny little fragment. For example, when I had Chuck Ritter on, fellow Green Beret, who I had him on to talk about the no exit wound because he was shot with an AK-47 round in combat in the spine, and no exit wound. But the difference for that is it hit him in the spine and it tracked 30 plus inches down his spine, and the whole round lodged in his ass. That's a way less powerful round than a 30-06. So that's what you would expect. Could there be no exit wound for a 30-06? Yeah, but you would still expect that round to tear through 30 plus inches of flesh and lodge somewhere, or have an exit wound. I mean, bullets do weird things. They might hit you in the chest and then exit your lower back on the opposite side as it bounces around. But the idea that a 30-06 round turned to dust other than one tiny little fragment they can't match, unless it's a frangible round. But I mean, even you guys went out and shot frangible rounds, and it blows right through everything. I asked Chuck Ritter about that because he's a high-level sniper that's also used frangible rounds, and he was like, dude, 140 meters out of a 30-06 is going to blow through a human neck, even with a frangible round. And so, I think that's going to be a huge issue too. And again, that's the problem. We don't know what the ATF is basing this off of either.
Correct. And until we see the actual report and you see the language that they use in their analysis, that's when you can see, all right, how much verbal gymnastics are they using on certain things?
Yeah.
Because I could read those reports and you'd say, what are you talking about? I know what this is, and I can't make heads or tails of this crap.
Yeah.
So that's why the defense will bring in their own experts.
But
And
even
they'll
like
read that report, and they're going to say, this is nonsense. And,
I think,
then you go from there.
I think,
But 8
and
months,
this is what
I'll
we
say
don't
this,
know.
8 months is ridiculous.
for anything, right?
For them, for any of those, the only thing
For-
I would
for-
say,
Yeah, for ballistic forensics, they could do that.
Yeah.
The second they pulled the fragment out, they could do that in a day.
yeah, the only thing I would say that, again, given my former colleagues a little bit of latitude, is if the amount of video and audio and digital data that they received was in the terabyte range, some of that they may not be able to get to and make it into a format that's usable for everybody for discovery and everything. Depending on how much they got, it may take them a while. I don't know if 8 months is reasonable, but it could take a little bit.
Yeah. One last thing I was going to say on that with the round, what we don't know is we said a fragment round. A fragment of a round could be almost an entire round with fragment like little pieces of fragment missing from it. If that's what the ATF has, which is basically a full round sitting in Charlie Kirk's neck that doesn't match the rifle, that is going to be case over. If they just have a tiny little fragment that they can't match to anything, like we don't even know what this is a round of, that's a little bit different. I mean, it's still going to be bad for the prosecution, but if there's a full round sitting in his neck and they're like, that's not a 30-06 round, that's pretty much.
Well,
that's a headshot.
If they're going to say it's a different caliber, if it's a different caliber, they're done, right?
Yeah.
Here's the
Kyle
problem.
Robinson just walks. Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. And again, this is supposition. When you do those matches, you're doing a pattern-based analysis, right? You're looking at microscopic marks from the rifling of the barrel. Okay, it's not magic. They take it and they look at the barrel rifling and they match it up with the bullet, and they say,
"Yep,
there's enough points of reference that we can put together with the rifling to say statistically this is the gun, the bullet." We can say that. When they have tiny little fragments, you may not be able to make that. We need, I'm going to throw this out there because I don't like putting out specifics, but say we need 10 points of reference and they can only get 3. They can't say that it's not the gun, but they can't definitively say that it is.
But as for evidence, like Chris walked us through this earlier, which was really interesting, Jesse, as like we've seen, just to catch you up, TPUSA, of course, come out and say, like, this changes nothing, like, nothing matters about this. As I asked Chris, like, is the fact you can't conclusively match the bullet to the murder weapon not mean anything? Obviously, Chris told us, no, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
But as for evidence, again, like, yeah, that's good for the defense, though, because it's like, okay, well, we can't prove it's not the rifle, but we also can't prove it is the rifle. Well, that's not permissible in court for the prosecution. They can't walk up there and be like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We don't really know, but trust us.
They could. They'll lose.
Yeah. Okay.
They could. Yeah. And here's the killer, right? And this is the main thing I think people forget in these instances. It's not about what you know. It's about what you can prove. Right? It's not about what you know. You can know very clearly what happened, but in a court of law, you have to prove it. You have to have proof. And again, there's that really, really pesky beyond a reasonable doubt thing, right?
Yes.
And that's where
nobody wants to talk about. That's a big deal.
Right. And you don't have preponderance of evidence here.
I heard Tyler's parents are going to testify. That's what
I don't know about.
I don't know either. That sounds crazy.
They can't be compelled to, right? They can't be compelled. And so I don't know why I've heard
TPUSA try to say that his parents are going to testify against Tyler. And to me, does that make any sense? Why would they be? They've been defensive of him this entire time, and they've been showing up to court with him. They're going to walk up there and be like, yeah, he told us he did it. Why wouldn't he just plead guilty?
Exactly that. And I would just say, even if I was,
I can't see that happening.
Yeah, if they did testify, because the other witness is his roommate, and if that was the case, and I was arguing against that, I would just go, our little lovesick puppy over here on the day of thought that it was his manly duty to take credit for the fact something that guy did. Like
we said
That's
that
what
earlier.
Chris said exactly that, Jesse.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to. Chris, why don't you explain that too? The way they can kind of just write off all the love letters and stuff too.
Oh, they're gonna say he's a narcissist. He has mental deficiencies. He's seeking attention. I mean, they'll write it off in a whole bunch of different ways. He's a love-struck young man. He wanted to look important for his his significant other, I'll call him,
boyfriend,
right?
His
significant
boyfriend,
other,
yeah.
right? But
right,
you know what I
his
mean?
Partner.
Yeah, they'll explain that all away, and just because we have that kind of weirdness in that community, they're going to say, well, why did he say he did it? Attention. He's an attention seeker.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to protect the guy who really did it.
That does happen in high profile cases. You get copycat killers. You get people that try to take credit for stuff they didn't even do.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, there's all kinds of different ways that the defense team is going to, again, they don't have to say that it's all wrong. They just have to introduce that, I'm not sure.
And then they're going to get to cross-examine the boyfriend. My strategy would just, as soon as he goes up there, I'd be like, hey, did you have access to all of Tyler's devices? Did
His
you know
Discord,
his logins?
his phone?
Did he ever leave his Discord open when he was not around? Did you ever, were you able ever? I mean, literally, you could put all of it on that guy so easily, and you think he's going to be an awesome witness? You can get under that guy's skin. You're going to be able to cook that guy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be one of those like TV type of. When you're watching Perry Mason, I'm dating myself. I'm sorry. What's a modern crime show? Law and Order or some shit like that?
Yeah, Law and Order, I think.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, and Nate, you said it early on. You said, how did we get here? Okay. Real quick, I think we got here because I've said it before on your show. I'll say it again because I believe it. There was an erosion in the FBI culture. The culture of the FBI became more corporatized. People stopped giving a shit. It became a job, not a mission. The leadership became more interested. They tried to run the place like Google or Netflix.
It's happening in the military too.
And what happened was we lost all the old time agents who would have never accepted this. They would have said, these are all the fedora wearing like G-men. They would have never accepted this stuff. And I think what also happened is that we started accepting mediocrity. We started saying, well, let's not be so hard on them. No, what are you talking about? This is important shit, right? And I think that you saw during the last administration, their focus was changed completely away from certain things and towards certain more, I would say, politically inclined activities. I'm trying to make sure we don't get the tech overlords upset, right? But you know what I'm saying? It's like the more politically inclined activities.
Yep.
So the organization's skill sets atrophied. You had a bunch of people who were new to the organization. And who were they being taught by? Same bunch of retards, right? Yeah. So, right. And then you start having that go on. And you guys have seen it. And Nate, you've seen it where you can have a company full of losers. And then you get new guys in, and they're being trained by who?
Trained by losers. We have a saying that good special forces teams stay good forever. Bad special forces teams stay bad forever. And it's exactly
and
for that
then
reason.
I think we allowed ideological influences into the bureau. And now when Patel comes in, breathing fire and all this, let good cops be cops and all this stuff, the organization hasn't recovered completely yet. And I don't think they're going to under him. And when he says something like, let good cops be cops, it shows a fundamental misunderstanding of the organization that he leads.
Right.
FBI agents aren't cops.
Right.
Cops are not FBI agents, right? That's like me calling you a sailor, Nate. Right? You're both in the military, same thing, right? Not so much.
Calling me like you're a radio DJ.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So he doesn't understand what he's got. And he wants to play cop and he wants to play FBI agent. And while he's done some good things, and I got to give him credit, he has refocused the organization. They're out there doing a lot more criminal work than they were because violent crime was the number 8 FBI national priority when he took over. Right?
Wait, number 8?
Number 8. It was low.
Seems like it should be a little bit higher than that.
I'm sorry?
You said priority?
It seems like it should be higher than that.
It was a number 8 programmatic priority for the Bureau when he took over.
Violent crime.
What were the
8.
7 that were above that? Do you know offhand?
Right. Yeah. It
Oh,
seems like that should
yeah,
have
you
been
had
like
national
number
security,
one.
you had counterterrorism, counterintelligence, cyber, public corruption. They all kind of racked and stacked because the FBI is the only people that do public corruption.
Mhm.
So that's up there high. Cyber work because everybody's computers are compromised. The Chinese are killing us.
Public corruption.
We're
I feel like I could point them in the right direction.
We're gonna talk about
Yeah.
that here in a second too.
And then you have,
Compromising technology.
of course,
with the FBI.
counterterrorism, counterintelligence. So number 8, way down at the bottom, there was violent crime. And the reason they bumped it way down after 9/11 was because, again, we just had our asses kicked, and gangs weren't that big of a deal compared to
Cartels were nowhere near the problem 20 years ago. They are now.
Well, no, but I'll tell you this much: during the Obama years, he made transnational organized crime a national security threat, and everybody just completely ignored it.
Wow.
Obama did that, and I'm not an Obama fan by any stretch,
Yeah.
but he made them a national security threat in the presidential strategy. So
Yeah.
he knew it. I mean, somebody recognized it back then, but nobody cared. So, but when he took over, that was number 8. He has everybody out, and he puts out his stat sheets on X, and he's always talking about how many pounds of fentanyl and everything else that all that good stuff. So he's done some very good short-term tactical things, I think, that have made a difference in communities and neighborhoods, safety-wise, and some stuff like that. So I got to give him credit for that. But I think on the bigger scale of things, he hasn't made any fundamental changes to the Bureau.
The big
Bureau
issues
is still, the
big issues are all botched.
It's still a wounded organization. You can see it. You can see it. It's a wounded organization still.
And Chris, the problem is you can do all the great groundwork in the world, but when your optics are terrible because you botched all the big cases, the Charlie Kirk assassination, the Epstein files has been the biggest damage to the Bureau by far. It's not even close.
It's crazy that no one talks about the fact that all of that stuff had been covered up since those, like you look at the dates and you're like, you've had this stuff since 2011. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem is every time, and just the optics of Kash Patel showing up and then finding out, he won't get off the plane because he needs a women's size medium windbreaker. The Epstein files being covered up. The Washington, D.C. shooting. He shows up. What does he say? We're garnering the entire FBI to find the shooter. And then the guy next to him has to say, hey, sir, the shooter was put in custody right after the gunshot. There is no other shooter. My bad. And then he shows up to the Brown shooting a couple weeks later, and what does he do? He shows up and goes, we got him. And he puts up a picture of a veteran who's a student, and it turns out that kid's not even the shooter and probably ruined that kid's entire life. And so it's like every time
I didn't even know
massive news story comes out, he shows up and he fucks it up. And maybe he doesn't fuck up the entire thing so hard, but that news clip is just him fucked up, and that's so everybody puts in their brain. Oh, here's the FBI again. Here's Kash Patel.
Well, but that's the problem.
That's the job of the director, right? He
should not do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. My opinion, having sat with the director daily, that is not his job on any level to show up at one of those sites at all.
Well, I think Jesse meant to make the FBI look good, right?
Yeah, like to be the face.
His job,
right? It interacts with the public. I mean,
exactly. And I'll tell you one thing. Robert Mueller just passed away, former director, and people liked him. Not many, but some. Most people were deathly afraid of him.
He seemed like a scary dude to work for.
Oh man, he was brutal guy. He was a scary, intimidating dude, and. But did you ever see him engaging in any jackassery? Never.
Chugging beers at hockey games.
He was never chugging beers anywhere. He was never out, flying around doing nonsense. He never did any of that stuff. He was stoic. He was professional. He showed up on the Hill, said his piece. I mean, he was a frightening man, but he was a professional.
Yeah.
And we lost that. And then when Comey showed up, kind of things started getting a little clownish, and then of course, went downhill from there. But Kash, he shows up, and what the main problem with Kash is, and I'll say this: he does things based on emotions and adrenaline, and instead of measured approach, instead of speaking from a logic perspective, what he should be saying is nothing. right? He should be letting his field office managers, his SAC, his special agents in charge, they should be speaking. That's it. It leaves him then, if they screw something up, then he can come out from headquarters and say what we meant to say was. It gives him the ability to adjudicate it and correct it.
Instead, he's going on podcasts with his girlfriend to explain how good she is a country music singer. You know what I mean?
Again,
country music.
Again, just different generation.
Yeah,
different set of professional ethics.
I don't. I think Kash Patel's like 50 years old though, Chris.
No,
I don't think
he's in his 40s. He's his 40s.
But I mean, that's not that much. He's still a grown adult man.
No, that is true. That is true. But he's in his 40s. Okay.
Well, I don't know. He's not really that grown.
He's 46. He's 46.
He's pretty small. But
right,
so I want to talk next about a 46. I mean, that seems like it's old enough to do a professional job at the FBI.
Listen,
not as a
no better than to go on
not
a
as a
podcast
director?
with your girlfriend. Like you don't even go on a podcast with your fiance if you're in a position like that. If you're not married, we don't care who your significant other girl is. Like if you're married and have children, then maybe we'll care for a second. But like, who would present themselves that way?
As the FBI director, why are you sending tweets out about your girlfriend, dude? Like
you shouldn't have time for that.
That's what I'm saying. If I was a director and I was gonna go on a podcast for whatever reason, if I felt like there was a benefit to it, I'd be on a podcast with somebody like Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan,
right?
Where you want to get a message out to a big audience, or
you can leverage that
purpose.
Yeah.
Like when Kash did that and said that Epstein definitely killed himself. That's why I'm doing this podcast. And you're like, are you fucking? This is why you're doing the round, to tell the world that Epstein definitely killed. Okay, all right, bud. Good. Yeah. This is gonna work out real well.
Well, I'll tell you what about Epstein, and I'll say only this for now. That situation was mishandled and goat roped even before they got in office, when they got in office, and since they've been in office.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
I think
it has been since 2005. I mean, his first time being arrested was a total fuck up. You know,
you're talking way back then. Yeah.
We're talking about the Bush administration, the Obama administration, the Biden administration. Both Trump administrations have known about all of this and did nothing about it. So we can't put all the blame on the current FBI for the Epstein files. But this is the only administration that ran a campaign on releasing the files. So there was expectations that the FBI and the Department of Justice was going to do that. And then when they don't do that, that makes everybody real mad.
Overpromised, under-delivered. And everybody else kind of deep-sixed it. Right?
Yeah,
to this point. And because they knew. I mean, that's quicksand.
Dude, I would never have put that out. I would have looked at that and been like, do you know who that is in that email? Do you know how because if the people aren't asking for it and you look at that just purely on like, believe me, I want to hang every pedophile by their toes and then decapitate them. But in terms of like, oh, you're in this position, you want to be the guy that puts your name. You're like, I'm the one that's putting this forward with all the like that would be one of the most heroic things ever. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but the bravery it would take to do that in that position would be unbelievable, because those people will fuck with you in ways that you can't even imagine. There's no scenario where you walk out of that absent sacrificing things that you can't even think of. You know?
Yeah, you will pay
very
the rest of your
people.
Days on Earth.
Yeah,
which probably won't be all that many.
Exactly.
Right. From what we've seen. I want to talk real quick about the email debacle. I got to be careful because, man, I got my first community guidelines strike ever for nudity.
I saw that. I watched the video, and then you said it was gone. Yeah.
Nothing bad. Was there anything in that video? I mean, I made fun of him for being dumb. And
did they reverse it?
No, they immediately rejected. They flagged me for nudity, and it's like,
I don't recall.
So really what I think was going on is they wanted to shut that story down. They don't want people talking about that story. It is what it is. So I can't make any jokes about what his emails had in them, but I do want to talk about the idea of the FBI director having his personal emails hacked because his password was cash1234. I mean, and Chris, this was kind of your sector in the FBI. You did a lot of technology based stuff, right? I mean, how do you
Is that
How does
is
the
that
FBI
really how they got it? It was his password was cash 1234.
as far as it was reported, yeah, that's what
Oh,
they said.
man.
That's what
And so
that's what the open source is on it.
So how do we get again? How do we get here, right? Of where the FBI director is having his emails hacked by the country you're at war with, and then I mean, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna make fun of him too much. He's out there
No,
doing his thing. We know what he
no,
was doing in the emails, but
The
I
emails
mean, just
look
the
like
from an
it's not-
unprofessional standpoint, like you're running the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and you're getting your personal emails hacked, dude.
right.
Like,
Well, what it shows is one, lack of situational awareness. Two, his people around him aren't protecting him. And it shows that he doesn't understand the threat environment when you leave your personal email exposed like that. And I will tell you, just with the advent of AI and offensive use of AI,
mhm.
any password like that the adversary wants to figure out, they can do so almost instantaneously with AI resources because there are no there's no complex figures in there. There's no symbols.
Yeah.
There's no nothing. There, and it makes it so much easier for them. And not only that, but when we used to go, all the we would call them the white hats or the ethical hackers worked for me, and we had what they called anthropological libraries. So when we would look at Jesse and we'd say, okay, we'd look at Jesse and say, Jesse, he has these many kids, he's got this, he's got that, it's his birthday, his kids, and my guys would go through and they do all their pointy head stuff, right? And they would come up with all of the most logical passwords that Jesse would use, and we would beat most of people's systems.
Wow.
So it's not as if it's magic. They know how to do this, and if you have a nation state level adversary, they're going to beat you every time.
Massive
unless you
resources,
do the right
yeah.
thing.
But
You do the right
two-factor
thing and
authentication,
delete your email.
would that protect him? Two-factor authentication, just like if he just had two-factor, because like on Google, I have
probably
two-factor on everything. Like
Yeah,
that two-factor is
Two-factor.
so embarrassing. It's like you didn't have two-factor authentication on your email, dude. Like,
Yeah,
come on, dude.
two-factor authentication is a good way to throw some more inconvenience in front of the hackers,
Yeah.
right? Because there are three layers, right? And this is what we would tell people. There are three layers of validation. There's something you have, something you know, and something you are. Those are the three layers of validation. So when you're doing two-factor like that, you have something you know and something you have, right? Which would be your password and you have your whatever your code is that you get on your phone, which is your artifact that you would use, right? So very simple, but most people don't do it because it's inconvenient, it's pain in the ass, and when you're the FBI director, and that brings great embarrassment because he's out there trying to tell people and chastising people about cybersecurity.
Yep.
So it's just again, it's one of those things where I think this, right? This is my opinion. So I'll caveat that. This is my personal opinion. I think he is running a scared organization, and a scared organization is not a productive organization. A scared organization is not an organization that's going to sit you down and say, "Hey, boss, hey, director, let's look at your email. Let's look at your personal outside the government footprint for security. Let's make sure you don't have any vulnerabilities. Let's get you tight."
Let's
right?
learn from Hillary Clinton. Let's just do a real quick once over and make sure.
Obviously,
you're
nobody did that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was that easy to just hack his personal emails and pull everything out of it, so
yeah,
you've got all the resources in the world at your hands to do it. Like if you're cash, it's like not only to do yourself, just be like, look, guys, we're doing this. I'm not trying to break your guys' balls or get into your guys' shit. I don't care what's in your emails, but we're gonna do just an OPSEC kind of check on everybody and just make sure everybody's safe because we have real predators out here trying to take our shit.
Well,
so
you know what? The easiest way to do it would have been call down to the operational technology division and say, "Hey guys, try to break in my email." They would have called you back about 5 minutes. They would have called you back about 5 minutes later and said, "Hey, sir, we're in. What do you want? What do you want us to do?" Right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, I hope they did it now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the horse has left the barn, so I don't know how much good that is.
I just put a poll in the chat for everybody to vote on, but I'm going to ask you guys too and get your opinion. Jesse, we talked about this a little bit at the start. The Kalshi odds or if Cash gets fired, have skyrocketed to almost 80% now.
Well, once Pam Bondi's out, it's like, now this is what Trump did the first time. He's like, and you're gone, and you're gone.
What do
and
you
you're
guys
gone.
think? Do you think Cash Patel is going to be on the axe list here? Maybe not, tomorrow, but here probably by maybe the midterms. Do you think he'll be the next one on the chopping block?
Yes,
There's
he will.
rumors.
I would say probably, like when he did that appearance on Stephen Miller's wife's show, he specifically told the story. He's like, so, there was a rumor going around that I was going to get fired by the president, and I'm in the Oval with him and we're laughing about it. I'm like, so he's stressing out about getting fired, obviously, or he would have never told that story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit of projection.
Yeah.
All right. So Jesse, you're saying yes.
I say, yeah, he probably will.
I say this. If the new AG comes in and doesn't like him, he's out.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, we're going to talk about that next.
And
Who
if
do you
the
think
new
it's going to
AG,
be?
We'll talk about that. Next,
go ahead.
Yeah, there's some names being thrown around. If the new AG likes him, he might have a little bit longer, but he will not survive another Olympic beer drinking outing, nor will he survive any kind of a successful, coordinated, or significant attack inside the country.
Yeah,
He won't
I
survive
think
either
his
of those.
email hack. I think they're going to bury him actually on the email. That email hack, like everything else, like it just looks. It's the optics of it. It looks so.
It's amateurish.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
It's just amateurish.
I gotta
So,
jump.
if
I gotta
somebody-
jump here in 5 minutes, you guys. I just want to let you guys know.
But
Yeah,
think
you're
about
good,
it,
man.
Nate.
Yeah.
Somebody jumps into my email. Who cares, right? They're gonna see nonsense. You jump into the FBI director's email. It's the cachet of doing it.
Yeah.
Even though I saw some of the footage and it's just jackassery and buffoonery, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine. But it's who he is
Mhm.
that makes it a problem.
It's an
So I
embarrassment
think-
to the country.
Yeah, there's nothing
it's
in
embarrassing.
there's nothing in there that was massive, like
No.
groundbreaking.
No.
It was like, oh,
It's
he's
just
a little creep. Okay, yeah, whatever.
Right.
But
It's
to your
silliness.
point, the fact, and also I think what's such a big deal is like we're at war with this country.
Yes,
And
Well,
that's
they
kind of
want to
that's
embarrass
kind of a slap in the face. It's an embarrassment to our country. Like, hey, look what we can do to you, right? Look what we can do
Well,
to your FBI.
that's
director.
exactly why they did it.
Well, think
Yeah.
about this,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, that adversary is not in a position to challenge us directly in a military fashion, right? I think that's fair to say at this point.
Oh yeah, conventionally. Real quick explanation on that. Conventionally, Iran can't do shit to the United States.
Right.
However, the problem is that they don't need to. So what we have is we're fighting. The United States is fighting a conventional war, while Iran is fighting an asymmetric war. So you have two different types of
Exactly.
warfare being fought. But yeah, to your point, United States. I mean, Iran can't stand up to the United States conventionally, but they also
No.
don't need to.
But they're gonna kick us in the shins
Mhm.
when it comes to the fifth generation warfare information, and they're going to kick us in the shins when they start doing cyber attacks and hacks of key systems. Even if it's just harassment, it's going to make
Right.
us look stupid. And
Yeah.
when they can shut down certain things or damage our capability to render services, whatever it is, that's when people get pissed. I didn't get my paycheck because of this. I didn't get, we can't get this because of these nonsense overseas. And I'll tell you what, I really believe that the Iranians were the ones behind the attacks on October 12th, and they helped the Hamas guys win that PR
October
battle.
7th. October 7th, you mean?
I'm sorry, 7th. I apologize.
Okay, yeah.
They helped them win that PR battle really quickly and kick the behinds of the Israelis. They wiped them out in the PR
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
and in that
Look at
fifth
where we at.
generation warfare.
Support for Israel is in the gutter.
Yeah.
And that to your
Actually,
point.
I think they're running a deficit.
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah.
Bad. I mean, you
So-
look at by age demographic, Gen Z is like 12% support. Even I just saw boomers are now at only 50% support. So when you talk about winning a PR campaign, that might be one of the most successful PR campaigns
Yeah.
we've seen won on a global stage
Oh
ever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the Hamas guys. That was
No.
the Iranians behind them.
Yeah. And the Iranians, they're smart too. And so any strategy that I could think of that would work, I'm sure they've thought of. And what I would do in their situation if I had access to critical infrastructure systems in the United States is I would wait. I would hold the straight up. I would keep holding the straight, let the energy prices really get out of control. And then I would hit our energy grid, and I would hit it like at a time when now president can't hide it anymore. They're panicking. The gas prices are out of control. And then boom, that's when they hit the critical infrastructure. And it's just fucking chaos.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what,
started to do that a little bit.
One thing I'll stop after this, but they're not, this is my opinion. They're not going to do anything spectacular, and they're not going to do anything that takes down our power grid. If they do something like that, they give the president the reason.
I would agree with Chris on that.
He is going to crush them.
Yep.
Okay. Right now, we're losing the battle of public opinion. Our international allies are not standing with us on this. But if they come out and they do something very destructive or damaging,
you're right about that.
Oh, he's just going to go.
I agree with you guys, actually. Yep.
100%, Chris. I think
you're right.
They are 100% going to be reactive. And you've seen it from the very beginning. You bomb our power plant, we bomb yours. You want to bomb our desalination plant? Fine. We'll do it, and we'll ruin the entire world. But they've shown, and I think that's 100% right, Chris, of like, they don't need to because, and that's why they've even said they're not trying to kill American soldiers. They're just like, hey, we're just going to make everybody in the entire world hate you because we're going to collapse the global economy and make all your allies abandon you.
We'll show you more pictures of dead Iranians.
We got another guest. Aaron, are you ready to jump in?
Nice.
I'm always ready, baby. Let's go.
Did you just get done talking about the CSAR stuff on another channel?
I did, yeah. So I was over on News Nation doing a quick hit on that with an HC-130 commander. So I'm warmed up, baby. Let's talk this CSAR event.
I was going to say, and I got to jump, but that's not because of you, Aaron. I told him 5 minutes I had to jump.
Jesse did say he had to leave 5 minutes ago. So
it is.
Have an awesome
because of me,
nice to meet you. All right, guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, sure.
It's good timing. Actually, Aaron, before we talk about that, let's hit the last thing we were going to talk about, Chris, which is Pam Bondi being fired. And Aaron loves politics too, so he's right here with us. Don't worry about it. Pam Bondi gets fired. Do you guys know? I'm hearing rumors as to why. Aaron, you might know more about this, or Chris. Supposedly, Pam Bondi was sending information to Eric Swalwell and got caught. Is that true? Because that sounds insane. Like,
it's as true as anything is in today's environment, right? Like, it was leaked that Pam Bondi, one of the main things that finally brought her down. Trump was not happy, and you can take this with a grain of salt, but insiders were saying that nobody was happy with it. I mean, everybody in America hated the way that she handled the Epstein files and all these prosecutions and every single failed campaign promise. Pam Bondi has an anti-2A record. She was never a darling of the conservatives. She was the bad pick from the very beginning with the DOJ. It started breaking shortly after a car ride where Lee Zeldin took over and basically, had a news conference, and then they put Blanche up in front of everybody who's now the interim AG. But it came to light that maybe she was slipping old Eric Swalwell a little bit of information about some investigative documents that were getting dropped. I know.
So that's it. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy, Chris. I don't know if you've heard about that, but.
Well, I just know that there's always leakage. It's planned leakage. There's always a little bit of scratch my back. You scratch mine, I'll scratch yours. And as far as Swalwell goes, there really aren't any secrets about what they're looking to talk about with him and his previous paramour, right?
Yeah, his Chinese girlfriend. Yeah, we all know that story already.
Yeah, I mean, so there's really no secret. So if she sent him anything, I don't think it was anything that was going to change anybody's mind on anything. Everybody knows he was tangled up with that lady, and but the problem is with this administration, anything that is seen as a failure of a loyalty check, you're done.
Yep. What do you guys think? And we'll jump. Go ahead. Sorry, Aaron.
There is one more little wrinkle to this. Eric Swalwell, this just broke on Tuesday, but Eric Swalwell may be under investigation for a separate group of allegations where he was diddling essentially all of the people that worked for his staff, some as young as 19. He was making them sign NDAs beforehand. So when you start kind of like connecting the dots on this thing, it was Pam Bondi kind of slipping Eric Swalwell the information like, hey, not only does Cash want to let everybody know about Fang Fang, the Chinese Communist Party spy that you were sleeping with for 2 years that worked in your office and had access to information, but oh, by the way, there's also some as many as 5 basic former interns that are alleging sexual misconduct.
Well,
seems like a problem in Congress. This is
I'll follow up with that. If they get rid of him for that, they're gonna have to get rid of the place. Will be just about empty.
That's what I was gonna say. And I've heard there's so much of that.
There's so much grab ass that goes on up there with I don't know how those old guys have the energy for it. To tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But
Well, they'll just vote to keep it secret again for all the money that they
Yeah,
paid.
well,
to all
You're
of these
right. They
victims.
did that,
course.
didn't they? Right,
Yeah.
Aaron? Didn't
Yeah.
they recently
Yeah.
just voted
And
to
guess who
shut all
voted
that
for it?
down?
Eric Swalwell.
of
I
course.
didn't AOC and like some of the female Democrats also vote to shut that down.
All the
Well,
theater
yeah.
It
kids
was all
did.
of them.
Well,
Oh,
here's
yeah,
the
okay.
problem, right?
God.
The people who make the rules are the people who enforce the rules, and those people are the ones who have to change the rules, and they're not going to change anything that protects them.
Yeah.
Even AOC and the other ones, because they know when those ethics complaints come up that I think she's up for a few as well on some money issues and things like that. So they all have this mutually assured destruction.
I
Hey,
mean,
if we don't
there was
protect the-
Republicans protecting Ilhan Omar. Like, you're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
what?
it's crazy.
What's happening here?
Yeah,
So,
it's
okay.
insane. Okay, so
All right,
hey,
so-
Nate, I do want to close out the FBI part of this before
Yeah,
we
sure.
listen to Aaron and talk about CSAR. If your guys have any questions while I'm on, man, let's make it happen with the super chats and some other things, and see if we can get some people get some clarity or call bullshit on anything.
Let me let you, Aaron, you cool with that for like 5 minutes? Go through some of these real quick, and then we'll jump into that. All right, let's just hit some. I'm gonna roll through these ones and just find some talking about that. Or Chris. AJ says Chris is awesome, should be in charge, but instead we got Spider Cash and an administration full of clowns.
Very kind, thank you, sir or ma'am.
Bongino wasn't true LEO. He was a glorified security guard with no management experience.
Well, he was actually a former NYPD cop, and he was a Secret Service agent.
But
That
would
was a
you
long
say
time
that
ago.
makes him qualified to be the deputy director of the FBI?
No.
Yeah. So, let's see here. Chris, question for you. Do you think they are keeping Cash around purely as a scapegoat or distraction? Since he's that much of a clown, it almost seems deliberate.
Well, they're going to keep him around, like I said, I think until the new AG comes on. And if they do cut him loose, he's going to be the sacrificial lamb on why everything was screwed up. He's going to carry all the sins out with him.
Yeah. Let's see here, and we'll go back through these guys. I just want to make sure we get any of these specifically. May I ask, have everyone seen a crime scene? Oh, asking, have you ever seen a crime scene cleaned up so fast before, Chris? I mean, they paved over it and everything within what?
Yeah, I mean, that was
48
remarkable.
hours?
That was remarkable how quickly they released and then completely sanitized that area. It was amazing, and it was also kind of disturbing.
Yeah, and we can see the results of that expediency. Right. Chris, is it possible there's an FBI agent that may have a copy of the Epstein files on a flash drive for future reference? Whoa! In the military, if we were to steal classified information and hide it at our house, it probably wouldn't go well. But I don't know how the FBI works with that.
I'll tell you what. There's probably, unless the FBI deep six the information behind national security, a lot of the Epstein stuff is criminal information. It's not classified. Second thing is the FBI, and this is one thing I told somebody recently. There may not be an FBI, client list, but I guarantee you, if they were doing any kind of investigative work that I know they're capable of and that they should be doing, is that there are inventories of people, places. There are victims that they should have talked to and shown pictures to and said, hey, here's unsub 3. Have you seen this guy? Oh, yes, I have. And there should be these matrices of all of those type of things that are in the investigative casework. Now, you're not going to see them, but they have to exist if they did the investigation properly. So having a copy of the file on a flash drive is not what you're going to have, because you cannot download things out of the FBI's record management system. It's called Sentinel, right? You can't just go in there and bulk download shit. That'll send off all kind of flares will go up, and somebody will be at your office in about 2 minutes saying, what do you think you're trying to do?
I've had multiple times as the 18 Echo on the team where I've had teammates plug phones and flash drives into supercomputers. Aaron, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's always a fun conversation to have.
It's frowned upon, right?
It's not just
you'll
frowned
kill the whole
upon,
network.
You kill the entire network. We had
exactly. And not only that, but you'll have somebody show up at your desk in a few minutes saying, what are you doing?
We had our brand new SOD A. If you guys know what SOD A, they do like the high technical radar type stuff. took a Taliban phone and plugged it into like one we ripped off a Target and plugged it into a Zipper computer to download it to it in Afghanistan. And that pretty much shut the entire system down for the entire theater. So that was great.
I said it's
here's one. Serious for Chris. How come they don't RICO act everyone in the Epstein files? I've heard people talk about this. Seems like the perfect case for how RICO was built. Thoughts?
Well, I think we talked about it on one of my other appearances, Nate, but very briefly, a lot of prosecutors they're reluctant to use RICO.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
we did
powerful,
talk about it before.
Very powerful. But if they lose, it creates a chink in the armor of the legal authority. If you find out how to beat it, that's why most RICO cases they are ironclad because they never want that to be beat in court. And not only that, but you have to make sure that everybody gets the whole knowingly thing. Remember I told you there's this one word that everybody hates. It's knowingly. So you have to be able to show this racketeered, influenced, corrupt organization. You got to be able to make an organization. Everybody had to know what was going on. All those things have to be put in place. And then you got to find the prosecutor who's going to put that together in a coherent case, bring it to court, and win. If they don't think they're going to win, they won't bring RICO, period.
And with the Epstein files, it's the majority. There's so many people that are in powerful positions that don't want that to happen. So they don't want to, they don't even want that, they don't want a RICO case because they just prefer.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. That was I think that was about all the big questions for the FBI stuff. So let's, cool. Let's, Chris, if you want to hang out with us, you can continue to do that. This will be an Aaron focus.
If you don't mind, Nate, I'm going to step away for like 1 minute and then I'll be back.
Good, man.
Listen, love to hear what Aaron has to say. If you don't mind.
Yeah. So I think we all do. We got the real expert. And you guys may have watched my videos and thought, man, Nate knows a lot about CSAR. The reality is, I'll pull him down. The reality is that Aaron is a Air Force PJ, and he knows a lot about CSAR, and he educates me, so I look smarter than I am in my videos, thanks to Aaron. Aaron, you want to just quickly introduce yourself? For a majority of my channel knows you, but why this is so relevant for you to be here tonight, obviously.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Aaron, you can find me over at Aaron Loves America on Instagram. It's my main platform, or at the platform One's Ready. We talk about Air Force Special Operations stuff all the time. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I was in the Air Force for 24 years. 18 years as a PJ. So, all the way from team member up to operations superintendent of a squadron and senior enlisted leader of a deployment, 5 combat deployments in GWAT. So heavily involved in the PR game. I love it. It's the world's most righteous mission, right? And that's what we're seeing unfold right now in South Iran as we look for this now one American soul that's still on the ground and evading as we load up to try to go bring the cavalry in to go get him.
He is still the WSO still MIA
as of right now. The weapon system operator or weapon
let's give some background context to the viewers, because a lot of people probably don't even know what we're talking about now. Just explain like what's been shot down, just the base, the F-15s, the A-10s, things like that have happened so far, and the pilots they're looking for. So they have the context as you get into this.
Yeah. So we'll try to walk through it, and I'll walk through it like chronologically and make sense of the entire story, because there's a bunch of different reporting that dropped it, whatever. So I'll just kind of lay it out chronologically. So an F-15E, that's a 2-seat aircraft. They've got a pilot and a WSO, a WISO, a weapons systems officer that sits in the back. So it's a 2-seat aircraft. So they were either shot down or had an IFE. Right now, everything points to them being actually shot down. There's some very, so the enemy always learns, right? There's a bunch of man pads that are floating around Iran. One of them includes a passive IR system that does not kick off the anti-aircraft or the systems on the aircraft, right? So it's a passive system. It doesn't emit anything. So they're getting smarter at how to use this as the air war goes down. Right now, the smart money is on a passive system taking down this F-15E. So they were both able to eject. This is going to be something that some people don't understand, is they recovered one pilot almost right away. The first pilot was recovered pretty much immediately. And they were like, well, why can't you get the second one? Well,
I saw a lot of people asking that. Yeah.
Well, it's because it's a 2-seat aircraft. They both can't eject at the same time. It's got to go back and then front. If you go front, then back, you fry the guy that's in the back seat.
Oh,
so the back seat pilot has to eject, and then there's a delay, and it's only a second or 2 seconds, but you're going 480 miles an hour. And then you get up in the parachute. Those people can be split by quite a large distance. So
probably
that's essentially what happened.
A couple miles by the time they hit the ground, even.
It can be. And especially with terrain, if you go over a terrain feature or if you go anywhere behind something, you can get disassociated really, really quickly. And that's a very complex event to try to figure out. So
Yeah.
Pilot hits the ground. He's recovered immediately. We start looking for the second one. Well, when a PR event like this happens, so as soon as the ACES 2 ejection seat pops off, there's a beacon that pops off and it goes through the JPRC, which is the Joint Personnel Recovery Center, and the Joint Personnel Recovery Agency, and literally screens from Colorado to every Space Force base. These screens start lighting up everywhere when one of these beacons goes off. I've been in Afghanistan and we've had a screen blow up and you're like, what is going on? And somebody just accidentally set one of these beacons off, like in America.
Wow.
And you're like, okay, that's not a real event, but that's how integrated these systems are. Is everybody knows about it right away. So as soon as that happens, everybody starts flowing to the area. A-10s in the Air Force, they have what's called a Sandy qualification. This is from Vietnam. A-10s are the aircraft that are most survivable over low areas, and they're able to basically provide close air support. They get a qualification in the rescue community called Sandy, where they're running the mission. They're the rescue mission commander because they have the most SA. They know exactly what's going on the ground. They can put the aircraft where they need to. They can protect them, all that good stuff. So most likely what happened is this A-10 got over target. Well, then he was shot off target. The reports are that he was shot down. Really what happened is 2 A-10s were both damaged in this event. The first one was able to limp all the way back to base and land at safe base. The second one was actually damaged so bad that the pilot had to limp out of the dangerous area and then had to eject himself. He was also recovered immediately by rescue forces. At this point, so now everybody's flowing to the area, right, to try to find these. And this is where you saw those videos of the HC-130, typically what's called a King aircraft.
Yeah.
What they do is they can refuel. They can actually act as an airborne command and control. A lot of times we would put our officer on top of there because you have ISR. You can look at screens. You can have radios and SATCOMs, and you can obviously command everything from over top of the area. That's what's happening on those HC-130 with those HC-130 crews. Then you've got a package of HH-60s. In the Air Force, we call the 60s, the 130s, and the pararescue teams, which are combat rescue officers and pararescuemen together on small teams. We call that the rescue triad. The HH-60s are coming in, and these are low-flying, heavy, really, really souped-up aircraft. These are both HH-60s. People call them Blackhawks. They're not. They're Air Force aircraft. They're called Pavehawks. And you've got the teams on board there, and they started looking for the mission. So as those 60s entered the area too, they were able to find one of the people, I believe it was the A-10 pilot. And as they were leaving the area, both of those aircraft were hit with heavy enemy fire. The people on board took a lot of shrapnel. That's where you saw there was a picture of an
the HH-60s with the PJs took damage, right?
Yeah, they did. Both 60s with the PJs and the aircrew all took shrapnel, and the survivor on board, as a matter of fact. However, they were also able to limp back to safety and get everybody off target. So I can't stress enough, this was daytime with low-flying aircraft and a team of, less than 12 people. I'll tell you for sure. There's four dudes that fly the helicopter, 2 up front and 2 in the back, and then usually you're flying 3 and 3, maybe 4 and 4, but with the heat, with the altitude,
it's dangerous, dude.
Bro, that this is the mission.
You're just waiting to get shot down, right? Like, are you just sitting on that aircraft, just going, "Hey, this might be it"? Because
every second of
we're
it.
Flying.
See,
how high above the ground are you guys flying? I mean, that HC-130 looked like it was like 500 feet above the ground. So I mean, you guys you got to be able to see the people on the ground, I'm assuming. So you're low.
Low and fast is the way to do it.
Are a huge threat all of a sudden in a helicopter.
Yeah, well, too. 1762 round can take down a HH-60. That's what happened to Pedro 66 June 9th of 2010 in Helmand Province. And one 762 round hit that tail rotor, and that was it. And that killed one of my friends, Ben White, and 5 other people on board that aircraft. So you're trying to fly low, you're trying to fly fast, you're trying to get in and out of areas before you can be seen. But the nature of PR is that you don't get to pick the time and the place. The enemy knows it's an event before you do, and you're going into the worst possible scenario. That's it.
Yeah. Now, I was thinking about this earlier because, I mean, I don't think I carried, maybe we had some type of GPS on us. I mean, I had like a GPS, like a Garmin and stuff like that I always had on me. Did these pilots have a GPS tracker that after they eject, they can be, at least their locations can be found, or not? Because I guess we're still looking for one. Explain maybe how that works, how they're actually able to find those pilots once they're down.
Couple of different ways. So the ACES 2 ejection seat has that beacon that I'm talking about. The second that you eject, that beacon kicks off. We can tell exactly where the seat is the second that it leaves that aircraft for both seats. Also in that kit, the seats are packed out with everything that the pilots will need. He's got an M4 specifically designed. It's a short foldable M4. It's got like a 12-inch barrel. Yeah, he's got two magazines. He's got a sidearm. He's probably got about 2 magazines for that. He's got a survival vest with water procurement, his blood kit, all those things that he would need. That's packed inside of your survival kit in each one of those seats. That includes an encrypted radio. So depending on what type of radio he's using, he can send text messages by a single button push. He can send his location. He can turn it on and turn it off to make sure that he's not directionally found. And he can actually communicate. And we have had communications with this pilot that's been on the ground.
Okay. Do you think he could potentially just be in an area where he's just trying to lay low because he might be in a populated area, or he's worried about being found? And I mean, again, I'm just spitballing here on potentially what you might think. You probably don't have, we probably don't know for sure, but just thought process on that.
So it depends. Like everything else in the military, there is a very express plan for what he's supposed to do. So not only does he know that plan, but so do the recovery forces. This is why it took almost 8 days to find Captain Scott O'Grady. If you remember that pickup event, he was the case study for doing exactly what he was supposed to. He was supposed to run in direction A, and he ran 180 out from that direction. We couldn't find him. He didn't follow his comm windows. Like in SEER school, they tell you about how bad Scott O'Grady did on the ground and was still picked up.
Yeah.
By all accounts, the guy that's on the ground is not only a savage, but he's also doing exactly what he needs to do. So depending on what that specific plan was, and depending on where he got shot down, he's going to make that decision as the survivor to follow the plan. If he can find a hole up spot that's safe, or maybe if there's somebody around there. A lot of the Iranians are actually sensitive to Americans. There's a very real possibility that he could be being helped out by people on the ground. But as a survivor on the ground, you have to assume that you're in enemy territory, and literally everybody there is trying to find you and put you on TV for the rest of your life, which ain't going to be that long.
Yeah. That's definitely, that's absolutely terrifying. So what does this look like right now? I mean, do we still have, when we know you have obviously this big CSAR operation going on, is it still just blanket the entire? Here's what I wanted to ask too. Before that, let me backtrack one. Just questions that I don't even know the answers to with stuff like this, even as like a JTAC. But I would assume, we talked about earlier, when this happens, like every asset in theater is moving directly to this area. Under my idea of the way this is kind of looking is like, we want to potentially to blanket this entire area so that way no ground forces can move in and take our guy. So is that something we would still be seeing? Is like actually the large air campaign still trying to hold this area down? Or is this something where once maybe they've located them, that changes? Or we probably have just an ass load of aircraft in the area right now still?
It's a mix of the both. When PR events happen, the dogs are off the leash, bro. Like rules of engagements get very like areas of gray a lot of times, especially if we know where this guy is. And it's my belief right now, it's my personal opinion that we can pinpoint exactly where this guy is from all the information that I'm seeing. There's ISR with a defensive posture. Those bad boys are looking at a 1K box. If you go inside of that box, I'm sorry, but you're pink mist. Like that is what is happening.
Anybody, yeah. Yep.
They're going to put everybody that's up there. If there's anybody that's moving towards that suspected location where we know where they are and they don't, those people are absolutely getting it. The world stops and the music quits playing when a PR event happens. They flow every single asset to that area. And, if you haven't been a part of it, it's kind of hard to explain, but the world stops. You'll actually have, as a JTAC, you'd probably have a problem. You'd have to push people off of it. And I'm talking allies, everybody.
Really?
There's a down person. Like, the real problem is deconfliction of airspace and getting people out of there because there are too many people flowing to that area. Because again, this goes wide. This isn't just an Air Force thing. It's not just some Air Force jock somewhere where this pops up on a screen. This is an everybody in the military problem, and everybody responds like that.
Now, is that A-10 sort of working as a FAC-A? That what's he called? Sorry again.
Sandy.
In the CSAR.
Yep.
Sandy, right?
Yep.
Is he also running as the FAC-A and coordinating all of the aircraft as well? Or is that, because you also mentioned that HC-130 that's also there for command and control. What's sort of I'll put it up on the screen so people can see the aircraft I'm talking about. What's the HC-130 doing as it relates to, and you had mentioned that, I just don't know what they're actually doing. I'll pull it up here once. different tabs.
So oftentimes they're operating as an airborne command and control center. Like I said, if this was me, I would want my officer, the guy that's actually the rescue mission commander, I would want him on board that aircraft. It gives them the most SA. They're protected. They've got more people. You have different layers, right? As a JTAC, you're playing chutes and ladders the entire time. Sandies are FAC-A qualified, and they can operate as a rescue mission commander and FAC-A qualified. But a lot of times what they'll do with the advent of ISR, because that drone is flying up super high and they've got a great pod, that's a great person to manage that air picture and kind of lay that off. It just depends really on how big the scenario is. And something like this, if you're an A-10 pilot flying at 50 to 250 feet trying to protect this guy, you might not have the bandwidth to be able to, and taking accurate fire, by the way. You might have to push that off to an ISR
to also be running a 30 aircraft stack on top of trying to run that. That does make sense.
Nate, can I ask a question for Aaron?
Yeah, you'd shoot them whenever.
Hey, Aaron, what about using AC-130s as cover in those areas? Do they circle and provide that support as well? Because they bring a lot of hate.
Like a gunship? A gunship, right?
Yeah, the AC-130 gunship would definitely be there. The problem is they don't fly during the day. We've lost too many AC-130s during the day. They don't fly during daylight. So right now it's about to be daylight. I guarantee that there are AC-130s that are flying above. They've got great avionics. They've also got great systems and sensors. They actually have two separate sensors. They can look at two things at once. So like they can have the survivor in the middle of one window, and then the other window with the big gun, they can be basically putting like a 5K ring around that bad boy, just waiting for somebody to fuck around so that they find out.
Yeah, I was figuring they'd be part of it, but yeah, if it's daylight, they're big and slow. So what would move in to relieve an AC-130 cover? What would you be using during daylight?
Everything is coming, brother. You're talking about fighters, you're talking about Apaches, you're talking about anything in the cab, anything with a gun on it, Kiowas, any of those aircraft that can actually bring fire, they're going to bring, to include armed ISR assets with Hellfires or other, rocket-fired munitions. All kinds of stuff. And again, the world is your oyster. When PR events kick off, there are going to be people literally chomping at the bit to sign on and come do absolutely anything that they can.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, so shoot questions whenever, Chris. I mean, like, this is even outside my realm of understanding. We learn about CSAR as Green Berets, and there has been times where we're involved in doing it as well if there's no PJs around, but obviously not a main mission set. Do you think for this guy on the ground, is there news of him actually exfilling himself by foot? I mean, there's stories about this. Bravo 20, or one of the guys made it literally like 300 miles out of Iraq on foot. Is there a plan like that for these pilots of if they go down these? I know that the terrain is horrible, so is he even going to be able to make it out on foot? But would that be some type of thing that's in the pilot's plan of like, no shit, hey, nobody comes to get you, you're headed this direction until you hit Iraq or whatever,
or water, or whichever way. And that is built into the plan. That extended evasion plan is built in. I think in the specific context of where he is in Iran, terrain is the biggest problem here. That terrain is largely unpassable, especially on foot. We don't know what his injuries are. So ejection out of an aircraft is an emotional event for a pilot, right? And that's followed by a parachute ride. These things aren't great square parachutes that you can stand up and land, and they're nice and soft. These things
are you in the seat still as you're parachuting down?
There's a man seat separation. Yeah, no, you're not. So the kit comes with you. Okay. The kit is attached to you. And then there's what's called man seat separation, where literally the seat goes away from you and then you're underneath the canopy in your own rig. And then all of that gear is attached to you. So this pilot's probably never ejected before, but he just got his first night combat equipment jump,
and it's
early morning combat equipment jump. Yeah.
In the middle of Iran in enemy territory. Talk about harrowing. But there's going to be some books written on this one. For sure,
100%.
From everybody. Also, Valor Awards all the way around, I'm sure, for everybody, especially the PJs involved. Aaron, have you done any downed pilot or downed aircraft in your combat deployments personally?
So recovery
is pretty rare, but
recovery is not rescues. Unfortunately, I had the distinct dishonor, I guess it would say, to recover people that had crashed and that we knew that they had perished beforehand before we launched. So I hadn't got to launch on an actual like pilot recovery or rescue. I did do a couple of recoveries, But that's why you have PJs as a premier rescue force inside of the DOW. Like the guys that are on these things, it doesn't matter if he's trapped. It doesn't matter if he's hurt. He's going to be dehydrated. He just went through the most harrowing experience of his life. He's still on the ground. It's the perfect team to go get him. It's what these guys train for.
And it's Iran in April, which means it's probably getting close to 80, 90 degrees during the day, because he's in southern Iran, right? Is what didn't this happen down in the south?
So it'll be 68 tonight. It gets up to 80 tomorrow. So it's not too cold tonight. There's a little bit of cloud cover, which is going to help the rescue forces. We always want a true moonless night, the lowest illume that we possibly can.
You want no illume for rescue operations?
That would be perfect. I mean, if it was 68 degrees out, the helicopters are going to have plenty of power at 68 degrees. That means you could maybe get an extra person on that aircraft. An extra gun would always be helpful, especially when you're going on the ground. Extra gear, extra power, and then a moonless night would be great. We can see in the night, they can't. It's an advantage that I would love for them to have.
So how does it look? How does it work when you guys as PJs on the HH-60s go into recover? I mean, you're no shit flying that HH-60 onto the ground and then jumping off and finding this person and bringing them back onto the aircraft?
It's a constant fight. There's a bunch of different ways that you can employ to this. You can employ direct. The fastest way is to lay in the helicopter next to where the guy is, jump off, grab him.
Just thinking about how fucking dangerous that is, right? It's like unreal. All of a sudden you got another down helicopter. So
right. Well, there's also the possibility of a CSAR trap. This is what you really have to be looked for. For some reason, if they already captured this guy. So if they already captured this guy and they found his radio and they are forcing him to call CSAR forces into an area, there is a very real possibility. Shit. There was a $100,000 bounty for the entire Iraq war, the entire start of the Iraq war in 2003. Anybody that could shoot down a rescue helicopter gets $100,000. And there's a bounty right now. Iran said that there's a $50,000 bounty on this guy's head, and anybody that can shoot down one of the helicopters going to save him is going to get $50K as well, because they know how important it is for the morale of the troops. If you know, imagine the impact to morale. If we already rescued 3 people off of this thing, right? There's already been 3 pickups. Imagine getting into a plane to go fly and knowing if you get shot down, nobody's going to come for you. How many people are going to want to continue to fly? That is a huge shot to American morale. So if you can shoot down a rescue helicopter, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And just also the morale to the nation. Because when we have one of our pilots get strung up in an orange suit with a bag over his head on national TV, right, potentially gets his head cut off when Donald Trump doesn't want to do whatever Iran tells him to do. That's imagine we're talking about losing the PR campaign, which the United States is most certainly losing. We're winning the conventional war. It's not like that's not a discussion, but we're definitely losing the PR campaign in this war. That would be the type of thing that would just be, I mean, the damage that would do to the country, and people would lose their minds on that. And again, just as an American, seeing something like that.
Well, I don't think we have the ability to weather another Black Hawk Down scenario.
No, not right now. Not with this.
I don't think the country's. We're not well enough as a country to weather something like that.
No, and you can tell how serious the administration is taking it. Like the fact that Trump isn't out tweeting up a storm on True Social, and he called a lid to his day, and he got the security cabinet in there. At least that is pointing me to, like, everybody is taking this seriously. And that's how serious these PR events go, is that everybody is laser focused on getting this guy home right the F now.
Right.
I wonder how that's going to shift the conventional war effort, right? As you mentioned, okay, they're starting to learn. We had upwards of, let's say, 4 aircraft either shot down or injured to have to fly back today. So we had the F-15, 2 A-10s, that HH-60. We've heard rumors of an F-16. I wanted to ask you about that. Everybody keeps asking me about a shot down F-16. I'm not seeing any confirmation of that. I don't know if you've heard anything more about that, Aaron.
I haven't seen any solid confirmation. Yeah, that's what the hardest about this. I literally woke up this morning and started seeing just the fire on social media that was like, hey, we've got this shot down. I was like, Iran put out another piece of propaganda. They got you guys. You ate the trash. CENTCOM, of course, on their Twitter account puts out, hey, we can account for all the planes. I'm going to give CENTCOM some credit here. They knew where all the planes were. It's just that one was crashed in South Iran.
Just one was shot down. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Clever reporting.
Right.
Yeah, clever reporting by the DoD.
But They haven't tweeted since then. They never came out and corrected that report. That was just a piece of propaganda that went out. So in this informational space where we are, I've seen the reports too about the F-16. I can't verify it. I have no clue. But at this point, especially with the way that the enemy TTPs are changing and they're adapting to what we do, which is what the enemy does. The enemy gets a vote. These are not goat herders and mud huts. They have man pads. They have
even the goat herders and mud huts adapted, Aaron.
They did.
Yep.
They did.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see what that does to the conventional way that we approach this. Because again, really what we're doing is it's a giant bombing campaign. And Donald Trump did his classic thing, yesterday, where he does not the State of the Union, but addresses the nation, says the war's over, we're winding things down, and then does a giant bombing campaign, one of the biggest bombing campaigns of the entire conflict. So what I'm hoping, I don't know. What do you think the way out of this is? And I'll ask both you guys this. At this point, for me, this is my opinion on it. Aaron already knows it. I want us the fuck out of it. Like, I just don't want any more blood for sand and oil. I think everybody's losing. I think Iran's losing. I think the United States is losing. I think the entire world is losing. I don't think there's any winners here, realistically, in this conflict. But I don't know what the exfil strategy is here now, and especially as we, it seems like the more planes get shot down, the potentially pilots in hostage situations, we get into further escalation that we can't get out of the more this type of stuff happens. Do you see an off-ramp here, or do you think we're fucking in it now? Because we've had 20 plus aircraft damaged or shot down, 13 dead Americans, and we got to get some type of win, I guess. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the problem working against us here is actually Iran's no kidding doctrine. So they watch what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan with shock and awe in 2002 and 2003, and they literally structured their military to avoid a situation like that. They saw Iraq fall immediately when we got rid of Saddam. So they have what's called the Mosaic plan. There's 31 provinces in Iran, and basically the idea here is simple centralized command, decentralized control. If you don't hear anything from Tehran, every single province inside of Iran, all 31 separate entities, are free to attack without orders from a centralized command. So when we decapitated them, you basically let 31 different dogs off the leash. Now, not everybody inside of those provinces is going to fight the same, right? Like some people are going to, like some of these provinces have been decimated and they don't even have the logistical ability to fight. But Iran actually planned for that as well. And they put their most hardened commanders away from these large military installations. So trying to negotiate with a headless monster that's 31 independent states essentially fighting.
It's like Afghanistan. You're trying to negotiate with the Taliban tribes, like when it's 17 different tribes that are out there.
Which warlord speaks for the country? There isn't one.
Exactly,
we killed all of the leadership. So how are you going to negotiate with that? Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, we got to get out of there, right? This is going to become quicksand for us. The Iranians see that we don't have the stomach for this, right? When it comes to any kind of urban combat or anything like that, we don't have the stomach for it right now. Not that we're not good at it. We just don't have the stomach for it. And I do think a great point was made about the decentralized nature of it's always that old adage, right? Would you rather fight one dragon or 1,000 poisonous snakes roaming free?
I didn't even think about that, Aaron. I mean, I knew about the way they had decentralized their command, but I didn't even think about the fact that it's just turned it into 31 warlords who now have free reign to do whatever they want. There is no negotiating with that. We couldn't do it that was, we put in Hamid Karzai and we're like, hey, let's unite the clans, and like that didn't happen. They all just kill each other anyway. Not that Iran is going to be the same as Afghanistan, but when it comes to ending a conflict, there's not really negotiating our way out of it. There's leaving. We could just up and leave. But the big problem now is we up and leave and they control the Strait of Hormuz and they leave more powerful than when they started. I mean, if they can start affecting BRICS this way and like forcing all of our Asian allies who basically have no oil at all anymore to be like, hey, you're buying in Chinese yuan and you're paying $2 million a tanker. And that's just the way the world is now. That's gonna, like, if you think gas prices are going down, that ain't fucking happening now. And now, it also, to me, and I don't know what you think about this, guys, I'm not saying it's necessarily the death of the U.S. empire. I think we are on that trajectory eventually, but every empire is. But it kind of, it's kind of like an emperor has no clothes situation. It's like, okay, you have the American military that we can conventionally turn anybody to dust. Nobody can stand with us conventionally, but all of these countries are starting to learn, like Aaron, you said, okay, we've learned from Iraq. We learned from Afghanistan. Now we know how to approach fighting the United States. And the way, you know how we win the United States war? Vietnam showed us this as well, is like Chris said, well, we'll just make it to where the American people don't have the fucking appetite for it. And when we can eventually force enough political backlash, you'll leave. And we did it in Vietnam. We did it in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. I mean, that's kind of been the way through asymmetric warfare that you beat America, is you just wait.
Hey, Nate, we talked about it earlier before Aaron came on, but the Iranians really haven't reacted. They haven't responded. They haven't really done anything yet that would be considered, I would say, a significant retaliation.
Bring the nukes out because Iran decided to, schwack some desalination plant. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. But like Chris, you said that's kind of part of their strategy, though, is like, hey, don't piss off the American people. Seems like they're Aaron, I think they're like actually not trying to kill Americans on purpose, or like you said, even potentially these pilots. And I don't think they'd even assassinate this pilot. I think if Iran got a hold of it, God, I pray not. I think that they would use it as a massive PR campaign. But I don't think they cut his head off on live TV, because then, okay, now the patriotism bells roll up and America goes, okay, 9/11 again, motherfucker. Now we're all in on board because we watched you take the head. I think they probably treat him pretty well and just say, you're not getting him back until the war's over and you meet these demands. You know?
And I'll tell you,
you're right. Well, just like after 9/11, the cage door swung open, right? The American people actually demanded retribution.
Yeah, there was like a 90+% approval rating by the American people entering that war, and it stayed that way for a long time.
They demanded it. It wasn't like it was unpopular. They required it. So unless the Iranians want that again, you don't want that, because then, like I said, that cage door swings open, and then, like you said, we turn things to dust.
And I'll tell you that they're using our military might and the way that our news cycle works against us. Do you think Russia, look at the Russia-Ukraine war. You think Russian citizens give a shit if they lose 13 service members over the initial time? They don't care at all. That's been the biggest thing that sticks in America's craw. You have the Venezuela op where we go in and all of the lore about the Delta boys going in and snatching Maduro and some people getting shot up, and we gave the living guy the Medal of Honor at the State of the Union. People in America, they have a very low tolerance and very low constitution for any American deaths because we've been so efficient. The first Iraq war was 100 days.
Point.
You look, from a very hyperbolic, ultra patriot sort of scenario, you're like, oh, we're so good, we never lose soldiers. Well, then when you lose 13 of them, people are like, whoa, you lose 4 aircraft in a day, and you're like, wait a second, fellas, wait a second, we're not for this. Iran knows this. All Iran has to do is wait. It's a war of attrition. They've learned the lessons of everybody before them, and they're using the news cycle against us perfectly.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's kind of funny because it's actually not a new strategy for unconventional warfare. I mean, this is Vietnam did it, the Viet Cong did it, Afghanistan did it to the British, the Russians, and then us. I mean, they did it for Afghanistan did it for 70 years straight, and then finally came out on the back end of like, okay, but now they're at war with Pakistan. So like even they're just always perpetually at war. And another thing, Aaron, I think that people don't really think about is, and I try to explain this to people, the idea that we're going to bomb Shia Muslims into submission. And I'm trying to explain to people, we're talking about a culture, whether you agree with it or not, that believes heavily in martyrdom. You killed the Shia Pope. We've slaughtered, I don't know, close to 1,500 civilians at this point. So now he's a martyr. And also, this is a culture that'll strap suicide vests and jump in a vehicle-borne IED and blow themselves up for the cause. You think you're going to bomb everything with 4 corners and they're going to walk out and be like, you know what? You got us. We can't handle being blown up. It's like, that's not really how Nate, these cultures work.
Check this, Nate. I worked in the national security side of things for many years, and you, of course, both of you have been associated with. We are fighting a political war. They're fighting a religious war. Okay, and a lot of people lose track of that in the United States. Ours is based on politics or economics. They're over there fighting for religion.
Yeah.
And I think the American people lose sight of that, where for us it's it's money, political power, whatever. For them, it's like their religious, it's their afterlife, it's their and I think we forget that from time to time, that there are going to be instances where they're just more dedicated to their cause than we are to ours.
Oh, for sure.
The only reason I would believe what you say here, Chris, is 6,000 years of past performance from the same group of people being completely inconsistent since they were a society. You know what I'm saying? Like, this has been this way forever. Somebody that is willing to strap a suicide vest and walk into a group of women and children in a market. You're telling me that they can't live in a little bit of war, take a little bit of bombing? What are we talking about?
Right. The Persian Empire really is what it is. And and that's another thing I think people forget is, I mean, when you're dealing with, now it's not all Persians, but in Iran, especially with Persians, they're very, like, they may be, against their leadership, but when you basically attack the Persian Empire, what we're seeing is they all are gonna, a lot of them will unite behind Persia, essentially, because they're being attacked. It's much like if the United States were to be attacked by a foreign country, a large-scale foreign country like this. Do you think that politics would matter as much all of a sudden if we were massive bombing campaigns were hitting cities? No, we probably would have some patriotism get drum up, and people might, put their differences aside and say, hey, we think about like external threats. External threats are amazing at uniting countries, right? We kind of had the joke about if aliens showed up, you could finally have peace in the world because humans would unite against the aliens. Maybe Democrats might still, take the side of the aliens, but sorry, that's just a joke. But you know what I mean? Like, external threats are, and we saw it in 9/11. External threats are a great way to unite people in your country, and that's kind of what I think we're seeing in Iran right now. Is when everybody said all we got to do is decapitate the leader and they'll all rise up and take their country back, and you realize that didn't happen at all.
But who's responsible for that miscalculation?
I mean, the people in charge, obviously. It's not like this was hard stuff to understand.
I mean, who missed that miscalculation to say, what if this galvanizes the people instead of creating an uprising? What do we do then?
I mean, I can't imagine that with all of the experience that our generals have over the last 20 years, because most of them, Aaron, were with us for the entire global war on terror, that none of them advised the Pentagon, the administration on the Strait of Hormuz. You saw Donald Trump come out and say, we had no idea that they were going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm like, that's funny because I have a video from 9 months ago that I did that literally walks you through exactly what Iran will do if we attack them. And it included closing the Strait of Hormuz. So if dipshit Nate knew that was going to happen, I'm sure the combined collective of the Pentagon had to have understood, Chris, that these things are going to happen. But I think it's arrogance. We had that arrogance in Vietnam. We had that arrogance in Afghanistan and Iraq. And
I'll tell you what, arrogance is part of it, but I think there's a part of willful blindness.
Well, the same people that are in charge right now were just barely, they were like second in command during the Afghanistan withdrawal when we just magically decided to give up Bagram Air Base for whatever reason and keep HK. Like, the same people that were
we talked about
are now leading the forces. Like, these are by war of attrition. One of the things that I saw, especially at the end of my career, the smartest majors that we had all got out at major. You know why? Because they could read the writing on the wall and they were like, hey guys, we're good here.
Yep. Yeah. And Aaron, I think we talked about this back maybe even before the war started or right after it started. And I think we were both saying, like, hey, if you're going to plan on starting a massive regime change war with Iran, you might want to take back Bagram Air Base and CAF and, take back Afghanistan first, because if you actually do want to do a giant ground invasion, you're only getting through Helmand. So, it seems like there was no foresight here of, we're going to start this war, but let's not worry about like literally anything that just, and this isn't high level stuff, which I think it frustrates a lot of people. It was just
in our DMs could figure this out. We figured out an entire O plan and com plan by, in between calling each other gay and retarded. Like, it can't be that hard, guys. Like, two idiots did it,
Yeah.
No. I disagree. Yeah, two war fighters did it.
Yeah. Well, but also, I think, Aaron, I think you had a, excuse me. a good point about Venezuela earlier that I think we could expand on. I mean, whether you agree with the decision to make that to do that operation, I didn't. I thought it was whatever. It was worthless. We, swapped out Maduro for the rest of Maduro's regime like we do all the time. But when you look at it from a tactical perspective, it was like the most badass fucking thing ever, right? Like it went off without a hitch. It was fucking amazing. You watch CAG do like the craziest shit ever. They get out, Medal of Honor winners, like no deaths. You're like, okay, that is the might of America. We can walk in and we can do whatever we want, and there's nothing. We can kidnap your goddamn president out of his bedroom, and you can do nothing about it. And I think that also led to the arrogance with the Trump administration of like, and maybe some bad intel of it'll be the same thing in Iran. Quick in, ease and out. We'll go in, we'll kill the Ayatollah. Everybody will rise up and take back the country, and we're good to go. I think there was a lot of arrogance following Venezuela that led to this too.
You know what I was most proud of with the Venezuela operations, that the FBI was involved and it didn't screw anything up.
Fantastic.
Yes, there we go. Aaron, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think there's a little bit of remnants of how successful Venezuela was that went into Trump thought this would be a huge PR win probably?
Of course, because we're all humans, man. You can't help it. It's just like watching a basketball player takes a heat check from 40 feet and ends up hitting it, and suddenly he's just firing everything up from half court. You know what I mean? Like, you have that positive, absolutely like take away all the politics and take away everything else surrounding that Venezuela op. That was absolutely perfect as a military operation, from Space Force,
it's incredible,
cyber, everybody, absolute just ridiculous run. That was the best run in the shoot house you've ever had. Everything was just super clean. So of course everybody is riding high and they're like, hey, time to go get after it, boys. We're going to have Iran buttoned up in 30 days or less. Of course there's that feeling there. Everybody has felt that on whatever team you've ever worked on. The problem is you're looking around in that moment. We need somebody in the room to go. They need to be the A-dog. They need to go, A-dog. This isn't going to work out like that. Have we not learned our lesson? What's the actual plan? What's the actual end state? What does
I've explained who A-dog is. We should explain who A-dog is. So what Aaron's talking about is usually on I don't know how it is for you guys, Aaron, but on the special forces teams, it's usually the highest ranking E7 on the team. So he's like the most senior guy below the team sergeant, who he's usually the one. I was that guy on my Halo team that can tell the team sergeant. Shocking. Yeah, I mean, I was the highest, like the one of the highest ranking E7s on the team. But anyway, but the guy who tells you, hey, dog, this is potentially fucking dumb. Like, you need to have that guy, because the good idea, Aaron, the good idea fairy when it comes to combat operations or the military in general can run wild. And if you don't have that backstop of that, for us, it was a senior NCO, but somebody that can stop and go, hey, okay, let's actually think this through. Let's take a pause. Maybe this is a bad idea, and here's why. You're host, and I don't think Trump has that around him right now. No, I think it's absolutely. He goes, hey, this is a good idea. Hey, we want to do this, and they go, fucking, we're going to make it happen. Thumbs up.
Hey, we used to do the same thing. We had for operations, we used to call it the curse of success. Right. Wow. Anytime you pulled off a good operation, everybody's like, hey, we're invincible. And we always tried to have somebody that we called like that. They were the safety valve. Or a contrarian, right? There was somebody that was, your job is to be a pain in the ass.
The pessimistic guy on the team.
That's it.
It's the World War Z 13 man, right? There's supposed to be that 13th man in World War Z that's like, listen, if the worst does happen, and you're totally right, everything that Trump has done, like him, hate him, despise him, I don't care. But objectively speaking, he does not allow those people in his cabinet. When those people stand up and go against him, I don't know if you guys know who Joe Kent is, but the second that you stand up and you say these things to him, you're now suddenly disloyal, and the character assassination starts, and then the whole MAGA culture, whatever that thing even is anymore, they start to just absolutely rally behind you, and suddenly you're this traitor to the nation. When I said it the second that I saw Joe Kent leave the administration, I'm like, the reason that you need him there is because he's willing to say these things. That's why you need him in the room.
Yeah, so important.
People are valuable. They're valuable. Yeah. And you can disregard what they say if you really want to plow forward, but at least somebody threw out the, hey, maybe we're not as awesome as we think we are. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's valuable, and he doesn't have that. You're right. You don't pass the loyalty check at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's do one more question for Aaron, and then we'll start to wrap it up. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. I know Aaron's been bumping around doing interviews everywhere. You're hot commodity right now, Aaron. Yeah. You don't. Here's the thing. You don't want to be a hot commodity to talk about stuff as a PJ, though, right? Because that
No.
means the worst shit ever has happened. Where do we see the current CSAR mission going forward? Do we see this just continues until he's either captured or we get him?
I
Is
think
everything
it's the latter.
stopped? Do you think
Yeah.
the bombing campaigns, everything just kind of the heavy focus now becomes retrieving this pilot, right? I mean,
So
I don't know,
yeah.
but
In the last 8 hours, the bombing campaign, especially in Tehran and the other areas in Iran, have picked up, I mean, tenfold. Like, they are absolutely going to hammer every part of Iran that's partially pressure and partially distraction. They want everybody dealing with their own problems in those other 31 provinces so much that they can't get additional forces down to that area. I am an idealist by nature. I know what these teams can do. I know what they can do under pressure and under these things. Everything that I'm seeing from what the survivor is doing and how he's communicating and how the system is going, I'm still pretty plugged in with the community and understand a pretty good picture of things that are happening. I have hope, and I think it's a good hope that this guy is picked up. I'm hoping in the next couple of hours, it would be great to see a confirmation that he's picked up. But listen, man, this is what these guys are meant to do. They train for a 2-year pipeline and fight every single day to get this mission. And Nate, you and I were talking about it. You're like, this is so gnarly. Like, would they not go in? Brother, I'm telling you, the people on that aircraft, they are chomping at the bit. They are willing to accept any risk to go get this guy. It's why the community's motto is that others may live. They don't give a shit. They want to fight to get to this guy, to bring him home, because that's what they were called to do. I have hope that they're going to do it, and I want to see that confirmation pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first question I asked you this morning. It was literally, will they send your guys in, or is this just too dangerous? Because this is like the most dangerous CSAR shit ever. You're flying into an area where the aircraft already got shot down, super low levels against a advanced, not necessarily peer, but close peer that has already demonstrated it can shoot your aircraft down. And like you said, yeah, they're already there. That's
why they're going, brother. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing about this pararescue community that I've always attached. I'm not one of those guys that's like, put me in, coach. I'd love to be back there. But the level of pride and the level of professionalism that I feel of what these guys are doing from watching this unfold, I know how those guys feel. I know that they're absolutely terrified. Don't get it twisted. This is the biggest mission of their lifetime. People are getting shot down left and right. And I can tell you, to a man, everybody wearing that maroon beret, the only thing that they're telling us, let us fucking go, because we want to go and we want to do this, because that is the motto that we live by.
Yeah. It's so funny because, I think about it as a veteran now. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. We had an operation in Afghanistan where we had to go in on insanely short notice. We got like 6 hours to prepare because an ANA base was being overrun in Khazaruzgan, which was an area that we was like an hour outside of the closest med ring. Nobody had been there in like 10 years. Except for Tim Kennedy in his book, and that's not a joke. That is actually the same. It's the same Bob Anaconda, not in Iraq, the one in Afghanistan, Khazaruzgan. Pretended that he saved. Our ODA actually did get called in as it was being overrun, and I remember we had to have like surgeons pre-stage and everything, and I don't even remember any of us even thinking about how fucked up and dangerous it actually was. We had the general accepted the risk, to send us in an area that was super dangerous to do, but that's what we signed up to do. You know what I mean? And now you're being called to actually go out and do your job and save a buddy, I say, as a fellow, as a pilot or a fellow military member. So absolutely wild, man. And very, very cool. All right. Thank you for coming on. Let's ask, what I'm going to do is hit a couple of these super chats that were questions for you guys, and then I'll let you guys go so you don't have to sit here and listen to me read my super chats from about myself. So if you guys don't mind for, the next couple minutes, finish up these last questions for you guys, and then we'll call it next. This one could be for both of us, Aaron. I get this question a lot. Nathan, what's going to happen next? X service here, and just want to know our chances of being called back. A lot of people ask me about this. I think you got to get into a full scale ground invasion. We've got to start losing thousands and thousands of troops before we see anything along the lines of recall draft. I tell people it's not possible, but I don't think me personally, Aaron, I don't think we're anywhere near that yet.
Recruiting would have to drop off. Recruiting has been climbing. They're not having a problem. There's an 8-month wait to go into pararescue right now, brother. Like you're not
really
getting in. You're not getting in under a year. Combat control, Air Force, special warfare. In general, the recruiting is good. I think if the recruiting dries up and really the public turns against the military in such a way that nobody's going to those recruiters anymore. But I'll tell you, from working in that scout, recruit, develop space, man, there is no shortage of people that are trying to get in. So we'll have to see the chances of getting called back. I agree with you 100%. We'd have to see some sort of absolute large scale loss. I don't even know what sort of hypothetical would lead to somebody getting called back in.
You know, I'll tell you what, I have no fear. I have no fear being called back because I'm so old and broken that I have no issue with that. But I do.
Well, if it gets bad enough, like Ukraine, they're drafting 60-year-olds in Ukraine. So
all right. Well, hey, maybe I'm in trouble then. But I'll tell you what.
No, I think we got a long ways to go for that. You got to lose 1 million people before that.
We see a conflict on our own shores.
Yeah.
You got to rethink that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's have for Chris can answer this one for us. I think Cash Patel was hired to mess stuff up, like Brucey on The Longest Yards. I enjoy your stuff. Keep doing it, your buddy. Ideas of Cash purposely being hired to mess things up. I don't know
great.
about that. What do you think, Chris?
Shout out to that super
idea.
chat, by the way. That's the funniest super chat I've ever seen. That's fantastic.
I don't think he was purposely called in to mess things up or screw things up. I think he's just a victim of circumstances. He's out of his element, and I think he's overmatched.
You're out of your league, Donnie. Or what is it? You're out of your
you're out of your element.
Yeah,
you're out of your element, Donnie. Not the discussion. You're like a child that walks into a movie and wants to know the plot. You're out of your element.
Definitely out of his element.
Yeah, he's out of overmatched.
So this one, Aaron, you'll know this. Would that pilot have local currency in the survival pack? What's something he'd have on him to surprise us? I would assume the bloodshed is what he has for that, right? Does he have anything else?
It is. Yeah, so the bloodshed is just as good as local currency. It's written in a bunch of different languages. It essentially says, hey, I'm an American. If you help me get to safety, the American government is going to pay you. Some stuff that's in there, I mean, honestly, those kits are hilarious because sometimes it's everything from chapstick to water purification to fishing line to stuff that you can actually use, right?
Things you need, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny what you would actually see. Like if you saw the loadout from one of those survival vests, that it's good. But a lot of people are surprised by the M4. A lot of people don't understand.
I didn't know they carried an M4, but it makes sense now.
M4 and 2 magazines, brother. If you're on your own in a lost behind enemy line sort of Owen Wilson sort of scenario, you have to have the ability to protect yourself, and we give that to them with the M4 and the sidearm. But yeah, there's actually a bunch of stuff in there that you'd be shocked. I mean, like sunscreen and face paint and all kinds of funny stuff. So
yeah, that does make sense though. All right, Chris, for you, wouldn't the FBA not question everyone who stood to benefit from Charlie's murder even after Tyler's arrest? Isn't it a normal process? If not, why? My love to all of our soldiers. Never forget. Yeah, that's it seems like they didn't do that either, Chris. We didn't talk about that, but all the people connected to Charlie didn't seem like there was any interest or investigation in that either.
Incomplete investigation, lack of focus, lack of leadership, maybe some amateurism. Also, a lot of folks will say, well, why wouldn't they just interview everybody? They may not have felt they had time to go out and get, like, you hit that first circle, maybe a second or third concentric circle of people. Once you get out, like 4 layers out, they're saying, we don't have time for this, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it's a good practice, but it may be one of those contingency issues where we have all this other stuff flying around. I can't talk to the friend of a friend of a friend, right?
Right.
And they may put it on the to-do list, but again, I'm not saying it's a good practice, but it happens.
I think where his criticism there is they didn't even investigate the friend, or let's say here's another one. Everybody gets upset about this, Chris. The wife, the spouse, but in any murder case, as far as I know, statistically, the most likely person who carried out that murder is the spouse. Now, that doesn't mean Erica Kirk killed Charlie. Somebody close to you. And so if we didn't investigate the spouse, the family, the friends, the business, it seems like they're not to say I personally don't believe TPUSA or Erica Kirk was involved in killing Charlie, but it seems like there should be some type of investigation into that.
It's a break in due diligence, for one thing. Second thing is they may have been told to lay off. There may have been a political decision told them to lay off. I'm guessing, speculation on my part, but they may have been told, stay away, leave that alone. But it is
Yeah,
a
I could
breaking
see
due
that.
diligence.
I could see that. I mean, Donald Trump was just out telling Erica Kirk to sue Drusky, so that's what we have going on. Yeah, Donald Trump said that at a press conference 2 days ago.
There's
so.
a lot of there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen on that particular issue, right? So they may have been told to kind of stand down on.
I could see that one. Yeah,
that type of interview.
Makes sense. Have a conversation. Hey, Jason, question. Let us know. Last call for questions. Here's your last call for questions. So throw it in there if you want it. Aaron says, we can see at night, they can't. How does he know that for sure? This is a big problem with us Americans, always assuming what our adversaries can or can't do. I don't think we assume the technological abilities that our enemies have. Typically, we know those things. Aaron, what's your thought on that? Well, Iran, potentially, you've got, their soldiers may have night vision, but trying to shoot down an aircraft with,
sure.
No night vision. I don't know.
You're trying to pin me down to an absolute here. I didn't say that there's no night vision capability that operates inside of Iran. I said that we can see at night and we have a distinct advantage at night because every single one of us has night vision. The pilots do, the backenders do, the people on the ground, the ISR can see through the night.
It's better night vision than you have, which,
it's
people
better
don't realize
maintained. And because of the sanctions on Iran, they don't have a whole lot of that military equipment that's around here. So yeah, sure, there's black market stuff. And yeah, sure, they have the funding thanks to a bunch of different programs where they're able to circumvent sanctions. I'm not saying that there's not a single piece of night vision that exists there, but I'm saying as a whole, in a generalization, we are way better at night because we've had 20 years of GWAT of working at night and they haven't. They were not engaged in that war other than their proxies. And we know how to integrate and use the night vision better than they can.
Right. And there's a big difference between PVS 31 white phosphor night vision and PVS 7 PVS 7 night vision.
Monocular PVS 7s, right? Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
For everybody who's worn it, you can see one of those. You're lucky to figure out if somebody's a human being from 20 meters away. The other one, you can see like it's daytime from 300 meters away. So,
right.
Okay. Let's see. Ooh, what do you think the chances are that something crazy happens during Easter, like sleeper cells? A lot of people will be in church, and a massive attack on Christians on Easter would be, wow, that would really drum up some support.
Well, brother, I have an even better prediction for you. What if I told you that like 7 years ago, there was a guy that said he was abducted by aliens and they showed him a vision that on Easter Sunday, Iran and Israel would be firing rockets at one another and all the orbs would come out of the ocean and they would tell humanity to stop it. That is an actual prediction. This was an actual written document that was sent to the Pentagon. The guy wrote a book off of it. Swear, look it up. 2026, orbs will come out of the ocean when Iran
that
and
ties
Israel
a lot of
it.
shit
together.
You,
Project
the
Blue
orbs
Beam,
that
baby.
are
Somebody
coming out of the
predicted it.
ocean.
Yep.
And the two countries firing rockets at each other. If that's true, that's insane. That's scary though. If that's too accurate.
Hey, I'll tell
What's
you
your
what.
thoughts, Chris?
Two trains of thought here. One, if you attack on what I would consider to be a major Christian holiday, you can possibly galvanize the Christian community.
Yep.
Create a large swell of resistance and hatred toward that other religious group, the Muslim. But you can also do it overseas, symbolically, where you can attack churches, you can attack other Christian communities overseas, symbolically, and get the same effect, and we wouldn't necessarily get involved. Right?
I don't think Iran will, but I think there's a different country that would be far more likely to pull off an attack on Christians and then blame it on Iran. But we're not going to get into that on YouTube because you know how that can go.
Like I said, hey, Nate, you got to keep the tech overlords happy, buddy.
Yeah. We'll leave that one as is. We all know what we're talking about.
The UFO prediction was from Chris Bledsoe. He made the prediction in 2012, 2013. He wrote the book UFO of God. He's a UFOologist, but he pinned it down April 4th, Easter Sunday. So he based it on the star, the heart of the lion, which is sort of apropos as to what Israel's been calling all of these different things. He called this again.
I can't deal with a perfect, accurate prophecy right now.
Telling
It's
you, he
too
called
much.
it.
Too much.
Easter Sunday.
2026 has got too much going on for this, dude. Like we gotta dial it back a little bit. Everything's too insane. Question for Chris. Just a couple more here. Please comment on the sleeper cell component, regardless of ideology, and how they would harm if activated day-to-day life. Sleeper
cell, term of art, right? It's out there in the media. It sounds really awesome and cool, but you have to look at the difference between a trained, clandestine group of people who are here to effect a mission versus people who are here, radicalized, drawn to an activity. That's what we've seen mostly, radicalized, and then they act on what I would consider to be a conceptual basis, right? Attack certain religious centers, attack certain things that have been put out in the social media versus that specialized group of operatives that's here to do something. I think that people are, watching too much TV on the whole sleeper cell thing, but I do think that there is, but there's a definite problem. We don't know who's here. We don't know who's in our country. We don't know where they are.
Chris, hold on. Donald Trump did come out and say he knew where every single Iranian sleeper cell was in America. So he did say that. Well, he said, "Yeah, we know where they all are. Don't worry about it." So
I hate this timeline. I hate this timeline so much.
He did. He literally said that word for word, and I went, "Then use ICE and go fucking get them, guy."
Well, you know what I mean? Yeah, if you know where they are, go roll them up. You know
what their apartment they're at? Go get them, please.
Yeah, go roll them up. But the point is we don't know who's here. We don't know what the threat environment actually is. We're just too much in the dark. And I think every person who acts even unilaterally based upon internet radicalization, whatever you want to call it, or any kind of in-person radicalization, people are going to call them sleepers. Yeah, that's really not what the term of art.
I think you have a much higher likelihood of homegrown terrorist attacks than you do, Iranian sleeper cells that came here 7 years ago that have been in hiding. I think much more likely you have, guys that grow up here that get radicalized, which we just saw that in New York, right? Weren't the two kids that tried to pull off that homegrown? Yeah. Weren't they kids of some wealthy family in New York that decided to
Pennsylvania? They rolled in from Pennsylvania, from what I recall. Okay. And they were radicalized, and they decided they didn't like what was going on. But the whole sleeper cell, I think that, like I said, it sounds great, but that I don't think that's what we're really seeing. Plus, we used to joke about it. Those guys have been here for 10 years. They like it here. It's good. They don't want to do it.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I'm actually
the
good.
liberals have done the other way.
Guess what?
The homegrown folks have learned to hate it.
But I'm not
good point.
On that phone call, right?
Yeah, I didn't think. Yeah, no, I'm good on going back to Syria. Thanks. I'm just gonna.
I got a McDonald's.
I'm married with kids now, bro.
Good, yeah,
right.
They just opened a great place down the road.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's all I got for the regular scheduled show. And then we'll do the rest of super chats that aren't for the boys here. But thank you guys both so much, Chris, for the long haul on this one. Tons of expertise. I provided literally nothing to the conversation other than questions tonight. So thanks to have two actual experts on to walk us through a lot of cool stuff. So thank you so much to Chris. Make sure you go follow Chris at his YouTube channel. Aaron as well in the pinned comment, his Instagram channel over at Aaron Loves America. And thank you guys. Who knows to either of you, maybe you have to have you back on the show this week, because who fucking knows what's going to happen with the CSAR mission, if we get some big updates on that, or the FBI stuff. So anything you guys want to plug before you take off?
Aaron, you go first if you have anything.
Sure, man. Just follow me over at Aaron Loves America. You can see the screen name down there. And if you want to watch Fox News, I know that it's a dumpster fire, but maybe pay attention to the big weekend show tomorrow night. Maybe somebody that you know is going to be on.
Oh, shit. Nice. I'll plug that for you. Nice. I'll plug that for you. Are you really going to be on? Because I'll tell people go to watch. That's awesome.
We are.
Awesome.
Fuck yeah.
I will be on.
All right.
Well, hey, they have an actual expert on their show.
Yeah.
That's going to be crazy for them. Could you imagine a real expert? Wow. And Aaron definitely is the expert in the CSAR world. Well, all right, boys. Thank you all so much. And of course,
hey, Nate, I just want to thank you for letting me visit again with the audience. It's been a while.
Oh no, it's the pleasure is mine. Like I said, I'm just the dipshit here asking good questions. So appreciate you guys both being here. My channel, Ordinary People 9513, trying to get it going. So any
any interest or love you guys can show from Nate's area, I'd appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you again soon.
And that'll be in the pinned comment description for both Aaron and Chris's stuff as well. So, all right, boys, I gotta wrap this one up. So thank you all, and I'll see you soon.
Out here.
Later,
see you guys. All right, it's just us. Let me move my camera a little bit here. Just us. All right, now we're gonna go back and finish the super chats again. I didn't want to hold the boys here for the entire time while we finish the show up. You know, they got a lot going on. Hopefully you guys found this an interesting one. Obviously had a lot of guests on tonight. When it comes to the FBI, not many people know more than Chris. When it comes to combat search and rescue, not many people know more than Aaron. So we got a ton of amazing information tonight coming out of some very, very but I don't watch Fox News. Aaron will be on Fox News, and he's one of our friends. We should support that. He's going to be on there as an expert to talk about this type of thing. And they could use some actual experts to go on their show to not peddle propaganda and bullshit. So that'll be good for them, actually. Okay. Let's again. Oh, I didn't check Rumble. Okay, we're good over at Rumble, it looks like. Let's go and work our way through the super chats. Everybody enjoy the show? Chat? Was this a good show? Good guess. Obviously, Aaron's one of my good friends. Chris has been a good friend as well. Chris, I think, has been on the show 3 or 4 times now. Aaron's been on the show, I don't know how many times. But we'll definitely have him back on, especially Aaron when it comes to the CSAR stuff. Anything crazy happens. All right, let's hit the supers. And I might accidentally read some ones we already read, but that's okay. I just want to make sure we get them all. And let's do it. So if you were just here for the regular scheduled show, we are done with that. We're going to finish this thing up with the super chats. Let's do it. All right. Justin Oki says we need to make an offer to the IRGC, help us safely return our pilots, and we'll give you POTUS and SecDef so you could try them for war crimes. I'll take that deal. What's that? What's the Inglorious Bastards, right? You guys know, remember this scene? I don't want to play. I'll probably get flagged for copyright, but I'll pull it up just in case. Where is it here? Is it this one? All right. Well, this is taking too long. Anyway, Brad Pitt, when they're scalping one of the dudes, he asks him, "Will you take that deal?" "I'd take that deal. This is a damn good deal. Damn good deal." All right, let's keep moving. Checking in from Dante's 8th level of hell. Yeah, it's rough out here. Thank you, AJ. Oh, AJ, I did not add you as a moderator, and I was supposed to. I don't know if Jasmine sent me your profile yet, but I need your actual link to your profile, and we'll make sure. Oh, she did. All right. Well, I'll get you added, AJ, as soon as we're done with the show. My bad, man. I asked Jasmine right before we came on and forgot to do it. But you'll be added here as soon as we're done. All right, Vincent, what role would mechanized infantry play in Iran given the mountainous terrain? None. Unless we came in from Herat, which is in Afghanistan, on the western portion of Afghanistan. There is one big valley entrance into Iran. It's about the only way in for large-scale mechanized infantry, and we're not going to be able to do that because we don't own any bases in Afghanistan anymore. So it'd be quite difficult to, unless you fly it in. But again, flying it in is also going to be very difficult. Cash Patel, better not lie about me. I did my breast, bro. Oh, also, guys, I put it in the I chatted it while we were talking, but if you didn't know, I finally started adding the emojis. We've got a lot of good ones. All right. If you haven't seen the emojis, there they are. I think you got to be a member to use the emojis. We're going to add more, but we got some fun ones. We got some fun ones so far. So if you're interested in that, I don't know. I think it's like $5 for a membership for emojis and stuff like that. I'm going to get new badges and different stuff too. But I at least finally remembered to put that up. Love from the UK, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. Hog's Breath just fired 2 generals. So he's fired more than that. There's a massive purge going on right now. I was actually my plan for today's video was to talk about the massive purge of generals by Pete Hegseth. And then, of course, we had a bunch of aircraft shot down. So that pivoted. So I am probably going to put that video out tomorrow. And yes, we are going to talk about if you have to fire 20 of your generals, then you're probably not winning the war. You typically don't fire your generals during a war that you're winning. Just some things to think about. Hey, Nate, you hear Pete Hegseth fire 3 generals. Yep. Chris looking like Hank from Breaking Bad. Grant Bear, Erica forgave Cash. Helmet Patel also. Taco Joe says the party told you to reject the evidence with your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. A little 1984 there. Roy, what's up, brother? Says the worst feeling I have now is we have brothers and sisters in harm's way and I'm not even deployed. Even every news for me is like a deep cut to my heart. Yeah, that'll be that way while you're serving for sure. So far, Hegseth is trying to force retired General George and his subordinates to do boots on the ground because General George does not approve boots on the ground. Yeah, they're going to start axing tons and tons and tons of people. There's, as far as I know, there's been upwards of 20 or 30 high-level generals that have basically refused to be a part of a ground invasion, and I think they're probably all going to get fired. AJ says Chris is awesome. He should be in charge, but instead we got Spider Cash and administration cleanse. Yeah, Chris would obviously be 1,000 times better FBI director, but we got what we got. And Bongino wasn't a true law enforcement officer. He was a glorified security guard. Oh, we got this one already. The Fed story is Fed slop. I agree. The only thing I doubt is the official Fed story. I think even a 4-year-old could poke a hole in the laws of the story, but common sense isn't a common virtue. The enemy is already here, embedded in our government. AJ says, CIA, hey, Tyler, want to do some super secret squirrel stuff? Just hop on that roof and be a spotter for us. I know, just the most, I don't know. He just seems like the most MK Ultra kid I've ever seen in my entire life. Wild stuff happening. Happy Easter. Yeah, but what we heard from Aaron, that's a little bit scary. That crazy prophecy scares me a lot because it's too accurate. Ask him if Charlie wound is consistent with a 30-06. Well, Chris is not a trauma medicine expert, but no, the wound is most certainly not consistent with a 30-06. 30-06 would have torn half his head off, if not his whole head. You can go watch my my ballistic testing to show you that. The shills won't size the slugs. Okay. The CF screams Plan B to me was their foolproof Plan A supposed to happen at a restaurant interview CK did before UVU. Don't know. Charlie, E-File's greatest ally or the WikiLeaks 2.0. We did that one already. Yeah, we did that one already. I think Cold Canadian Chick says, I think you do a far better job running the U.S. Absolutely love watching you and knowledgeable you are. Love Chris. You're freaking awesome. Well, thank you. I don't know if I could or not. I'd like to say I could, but who knows what that job actually entails at the top. And I have no interest in being president or politics, so I'm good. Finally needed my Jesse fix. Yeah, we only had Jesse for a little bit tonight, but that's all right. We love our boy. Grumpy says, Peace Squad, much love from Portland. Good point, but I would change the M word to maleficence. Do you mean maleficence? Good job. I don't even know what that word means if that's spelled right. Somebody else help me out. Good. Well, now you got some other spelling issues, so I'm going to assume you meant maleficence, or I don't know. And keep on their backs watching. Thank you. Booga says, TPUSA allegedly lost a $150 million donation. Charlie Kirk gets schwacked. TPUSA allegedly nets the money. Not one person at TPUSA is interrogated. I include myself, including the grieving widow. They should all have been investigated. As far as I know, this is correct. TPUSA didn't lose the donation. Charlie Kirk turned that donation down. And as I believe, after he was eliminated, they then decided to take the donation, as far as I know. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that story, but that's as far as that's how I believe it transpired, as far as I know. From the rest of us, thank you for that catch, Jesse. Yep. AJ says the FBI agents that came to my house as a kid because one of my siblings' fabricated, detonated, and an energetic device did a better job. Wow, that's crazy. Did that actually happen? That's wild. VFT for president. Well, thank you very much, but I'm not interested. But I appreciate it. Brian says, yes, Nate. Nick Freitas said some very good things about you. He said he doesn't agree with you on everything, but he respects your logic. Wow. That's pretty surprising. That's pretty surprising. I didn't think that he would have anything nice to say about me because, again, we're politically very, very far apart. But that's nice. That's nice of him to say. Jesse, what happened to Sky Valdez angle? This one we'll have to. You got to ask Jesse next time we see him. Sorry, I didn't see that one before we were moved on. Gigglepuff says, I knew the whole thing was BS when they say 30-06 was the round that stayed in the body. That round would have went through 3 people. Actually, yeah, probably. Yeah. You can go straight through a moose, ribs and all. So, yeah. Wars Racket says, appreciate you guys not backing off Charlie Kirk's end. Wasn't a CK fan, but feel like it's our modern JFK event. It's 100% our modern JFK event, or MLK, however you want to look at it. Not saying that Charlie Kirk is either of those people. I'm just saying the event itself is most certainly our generation's version of that. Nice break from the war that we won 20 times and have air superiority in, allegedly. Yeah, it's starting to look like, ooh, that's a little sketchy. Don't forget, Bill Ackman has $1 million riding on this. Yeah. We got that one already asked. I believe I asked this one. Yep, we asked that one to Chris. Grumpy says, I clearly missed the fact that the next kin can't be compelled to testify. Yep. It's a shame that as many times as I've been in court, LOL, excellent aspect. Yeah, so again, this is why I wanted to have Chris on. Chris, again, in the FBI for 25 years. He knows how prosecutions work. And like he said, unfortunately, even though TPUSA and everybody's going to try to tell you this doesn't mean anything, we got it straight out of the horse's mouth from an actual expert that, yes, this is an incredibly big deal. The ballistics not matching, that is. Thank you, Day. Thank you. We did that one already. Can Chris confirm or deny Jet Set Pootie Patel's Las Vegas living simulation? We didn't ask him that one. I don't know. I heard he is. I heard Cash Patel lives in Vegas with some like 60-year-old dude, but I saw that on Redacted. So I'm assuming it's true. Cash1234, how many dumb pills were butt chugged? Hey, it is what it is. 2FA with SMS is better than nothing, but just barely. Your 2-factor authentication. Yeah. Jesse, how old are you? None of my biz, so no offense. I think Jesse's in his early 40s, if I remember right. And I think he's only a couple years older than me. But you got to ask him. But I believe he's just a couple years older than me. They down pilots. They can touch us. Yeah. Main problem with Cash is that he does things based off emotions and adrenaline. Pyoda basically saying Cash is a bitch. Yeah, but Chris is professional, man. Chris is professional. He's talking about his old organization, so he's going to keep it professional, which I respect. You know, he's not going to come out here and just utterly bash the organization that he worked for 25 years, and you shouldn't expect him to. Much like I do not go out and bash the U.S. military. Almost ever. I bash the people in charge and the dipshit decisions they're making, just like he does, but the organization itself, you can't expect that. We did that one. Nate, can you comment on Hegseth firing multiple high-ranking officers today? Do you think they disagreed with the potential boots on the ground? Yes, 100%. 100%. They don't respect Pete Hegseth at all, and they have no interest in supporting a ground invasion, and so he's going to axe them. Yep, there will be a big purge. You're about to see a big purge, I'm sure. Why Bondi? So Mossad is never implicated. That's interesting. Excuse me. Grumpy says, interesting. Difference between criminal and classified as a concept from the legal perspective brings a new understanding. Thanks for the clarification. I didn't think about that either, that the majority of the Epstein files are actually part of a criminal investigation and are not classified. So we should probably get them all. See if we actually do. Mueller was into Epi in 90s, then went silent. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Panel question. Well, we missed this one. Sorry. Who would be your selection for FBI director, or attorney general? I would say someone competent in all of those sectors. Like, I want somebody competent from the FBI, please. Just not some random dipshit podcaster. That's like shoving me in there as the director of the FBI. That doesn't make any sense. As for attorney general, that's a hard one. I don't really know. There's a lot of people with the resume for it. Ted Cruz has got a massive resume for it. However, he would be the worst ever because he would just go in there and do everything for our greatest ally. So, like, he's a throw out. But that's the problem. The people with resumes are Trump loyalists. So, I don't know. Maybe you guys have some ideas on that. Trey Gowdy. Oh, I don't mind this one. I do like Trey Gowdy, actually. He's a little too MAGA for me, but I don't hate Trey Gowdy. Great show tonight. Would love to see you, Joe Kent, do a podcast. But he'd be willing to talk to you, Nate. So happy to have a vet's perspective in the YouTube space. Hope the move goes smooth. Cheers. Yeah, I reached out to Joe. I haven't heard back from him. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's got thousands of people messaging him nonstop. So it's going to be, I'll have to get a hold of him through somebody that we have a mutual, that we know mutually, most likely. But I'm working on it. I just need to get a hold of him. I would imagine he would come on the show. I don't see why he wouldn't. We're pretty ideologically aligned, and we're both Green Berets. So, but who knows? Nate, what is going to happen next? Oh, we got this one already. We got that one. Speak English. Don't understand much military talk. It's hard to do, man. It's hard to do when we're talking about high level military stuff. And it's multiple military guys talking. The military jargon just ends up coming out, man. So sorry about that. I try to stop and slow down and have Aaron like explain things here and there, but once we get going, it just is what it is. Danny says, would that pilot have we did this one already? We did that one. Sorry guys, I picked these questions out of all the line as we were doing them, so I'm going back through in order now. Make sure I don't miss any. Thank you. Super glad our taxes went to Artemis 2 in the middle of all this. Yeah, our taxes are definitely being used in every way that doesn't help the country, which is great. What do you think the chances are that something... Oh, we did this one already. That was a crazy answer. The Ukraine war has emptied our reserves, and Russia was able to reverse engineer our technology, which obviously has been shared with Iran. The people running the Pentagon didn't plan this out as well. 100% true. And guess what? They're going to be able to potentially reverse engineer now. You know, things like F-15s and A-10s and whatnot. Not that I necessarily need to reverse engineer those, but, you know, our fighter jets are better than everybody else's. And now Iran's got a couple on the ground. Grand strategy is to prolong the war, bankrupt the United States. Yep, that's part of it. Question for the panel. Is there an element where Israel fighting for religion too? Of course they are. Yep. That's their whole thing. Because everything's promised. We did this one already. We've heard of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and now we get to see Trump's The Chart of War. This is like my favorite joke. I've seen this a couple times on the channel. I've been stealing this one and using it at other places as if I made it up, even though I give all credit to you guys when I'm here on the channel. I don't steal jokes from you guys on the channel, right? But I will steal jokes from you guys and then use it other places. It's the way it goes. We did this one already. Katie says, if Iran starts taking hostages, we're giving them Baron as an exchange. Maybe BB's Weasel Sun Tzu. Great guest tonight. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think Trump will sign off on that, but was almost too clean. Yeah. U.S. is young. China's older. Plays the long game. Iran, Ukraine bleed U.S. slowly. Gaza widen global South rift, boosting rivals. Allies all tied to the U.S. GDP, but the U.S. is sinking ship. Debt crisis, exuberance. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Spending billions and billions and billions of dollars a day on this war is not helping that either. Not helping that at all. Hope we're not confusing Shia with Sunni. Not all Arabs are suicide bombers. Yeah, of course, not all Arabs are suicide bombers, but there are fundamentalists who are in both sects, as well as other religions, by the way, including Christianity and Judaism. A lot of people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the cause. But as for Sunni or as for Shia Islam, like I said, a culture that very, very heavily believes in martyrdom and things like that. So is what it is, man. My point was, you're not going to bomb those people into submission. It's not going to happen. Bobby says, who in the F in the Trump administration can calculate? Anyone with any competence or experience has been told to stand down or has resigned. Madison Ked left for a reason. Yep, Bobby, 100% true on that. For sure. And that's like we were talking about at the end. Anybody who's not a just straight loyalist and has the audacity to just say, hey, this is a bad idea, you're gone and you're out and you're a traitor. And now we're going to smear campaign you. So It also threatens everyone else around him not to do that because they get to watch what happens to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Joe Kent and Thomas Massey, and they go, "Ooh, I don't want to deal with that." But after the midterms, I think a lot of that's going to shift. Trump and his admins, hey dog, is the greatest ally in the E-files. Yeah, Mattis, I meant. Yep, we got you. I didn't even know you misspelled it. Oh, you said mantis. Mantis. Yeah, I knew what you were talking about. Did we upend the world to protect the Big E list? Yes, probably. I was just a Marine grunt, so I got the basics of SEER training, but what's the defense capabilities does a down pilot have? Do they carry a sidearm? So if you weren't here when Aaron explained it, they actually carry an M4 with 2 magazines and a sidearm. I didn't know that. I knew they carried sidearms. I didn't know they carried an M4 as well. So that was something I learned tonight also. I was one of the 7% who didn't support the Iraq invasion. September 11th wasn't them, and too many people, Democrats, Republicans alike, wanted to nuke someone. Bush at least wasn't that insane. Not sure about this president. Yeah, I think that's still a possibility. Let's hope not. Hey, Nate. In 1981, in my senior college class on the Mideast, our PhD professor told us about the Strait of Hormuz 45 years ago. This was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, not Georgetown or Yale. Yes, this is not a secret. Like I said, I did an entire episode 9 months ago about how if we started a war with Iran, that would be the first thing that they do. So it's not a secret, it turns out. It was a secret to the administration. I've been working overtime, haven't been able to keep up with the firehouse of info. Thank you for putting this on. Thank you guys for putting this on. Yeah, yep. Glad we can help, doing the best we can. I'm barely keeping up, guys. I'm barely keeping up with the stories. 2 videos back to back within an hour today. It was so crazy. I put out the first video talking about the F-15 shot down. Literally, as that video went live, the story about the A-10s broke, and so I had to knock that one out too. So it's been wild. I did call it though. Did you guys see? If you saw my first video before it went live, that was before the A-10 reporting came out. I literally said in that video that it's a extremely high likelihood an A-10 is going to get shot down. And then within an hour, there it was. Not that I'm some expert. It's just that CSAR is so dangerous that it's just very, very likely for stuff like that to happen. And unfortunately, we saw it. And still, that danger is still there. I mean, we could still have aircraft shot down trying to recover that final pilot. I was hoping we were going to find out from Aaron that we did recover that pilot. But sounds like hopefully we know where he is, but we still have not managed to recover him. Prayers for all. That scares me. My spouse was FDCO artillery in Nam 2 tours. He says whip ass and come home. I think they just need to come home. I don't even need any ass whooping. I think we've done enough of that. You know what I mean? It's just time to come home. Keep in mind, U.S. attack during Ramadan. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Got to feel old. I used PVS 5s. Oh my God. I don't think I've ever even seen PVS 5s. Thanks, guys. I'll just sit here and fart dust. Yeah, I think I've put on PVS 7s. We had PVS 14s, I believe, in the Q course. And then obviously once you get into the Special Forces Regiment, we got super nice stuff. But Chris, you need to change your channel name. It's too hard to find on YouTube, something simple without numbers. Let me give him, again, it's going to be in the description here as soon as we're done. But let me give him this feedback. I actually do think this is hard because I know Chris and I'm subscribed to him, but I couldn't remember his actual channel name. So I was looking him up by his real name, and then I've actually had to chat GPT it to find it. So I'll give him some feedback on that. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing Project Bluebeam. Too many people look past all things in our government admits to as conspiracy. Yeah, that's a crazy story, isn't it? Let's be real. Talking Ramadan was messed up. Yes, it was. Chris, I love my shocks also. Iran, God, you guys put a ton of super chats in after they left. Jesus. Or I missed these. All right. Iran is too busy playing victim on the world platform than doing any sort of terrorist attack with sleeper cells on the homeland. Playing victim. They're literally being bombed by the most powerful country in the world. What do you mean playing victim? Did they start the war? Pretty sure they are the victim in this one. I don't see how the United States is the victim here. I don't see Iran blowing up elementary schools and slaughtering 200 little girls. So just something to think about. Six's mom says, okay, Native Aaron is right, and lasers, whatever, fly out of the ocean. Please have him back ASAP. Great show, Aloha Hawaii. No, it's like aliens. Those weird sphere orbs that are like flying out of the ocean and then like filing pilots around crazy. People think they're UFOs. That's what he was talking about. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need aliens on Easter with World War III. Okay, we don't need it. It's too much. Let's wait until 2027 for the aliens. Okay, too much right now. Are we in Disney's red pilled or DIY multiverse timeline? Maybe. What's training opportunities in the budget of the 75th compared to SF? Like Ranger go to Green Beret round schools like Safari or Special Forces Sniper School, Military Free Fall, and Dive. Once again, thank you for speaking the truth for the American people. Yes. So Rangers can go to Military Free Fall. They don't go to Special Forces Sniper School. I believe they have their own school. And I do think they go to our combat dive school, though. Not very many Rangers are dive qualified. I believe there are some. Plenty of them are Military Free Fall qualified, though. And they do go to sniper school. Rangers got their own, have their own snipers. So tons of opportunities in 75th. Tons of opportunities in Ranger Regiment, for sure. Great place to be. And also a lot of operational tempo right now. So, you know, when Delta Force does stuff, typically the Rangers are with them or assist them. Unlike in SF, Green Berets, we're not doing that mission set. So it's things to think about. We don't have many options. Full-blown deployment of 200 to 300,000 ground troops and possibly more, or crawl back to Iran, commit to letting the greatest ally fend for themselves. Pretty much, that's it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think those are pretty much the two outcomes right now, at least as we know. I think you nailed it. That's one of two at the moment. Thank you for service, brother. Happy Easter. Thank you very much, and same to you. Same to you. Happy Easter to everybody who celebrates, and also to all the veterans out there, huh? I can't believe it's pronounced Keg's breath. Yeah, it is, right? Runaround Joe says 2001 and 2009 Navy Global War and Terror, 3 times in the Persian Gulf here. Now an optometrist with the Austin VA. Wife is currently a CRNA on the USS Boxer. Please give me a positive thought. Nate, can't help but feel like our ships are in danger currently. They definitely are. But again, praying for the best. I don't think Iran is about to try to sink ships yet. Depends on how high this escalates, right? They could easily be launching drones and ballistic missiles at our ships right now, but they haven't been. So praying for everybody involved, including your wife. That's scary stuff. Vincent says, I know you answered this, but how the F are we going to insert into Iran without Bagram? We're not. Unless we try to do it by air somehow, and that'll be a disaster. Trying to fly in AC-130s and take an airfield and then just eating drones and ballistic missiles. Yeah, it's not really a thing. Not a thing, really. If the U.S. was smart, they would stand up a foreign legion just like France, service for citizenship, put those boots on the ground, avoid the PR. Yeah, I actually don't mind this. But you can get citizenship for service already. We actually do have that within the regular military. As is, a lot of guys I worked with were, I worked with some Chinese nationals in 1st Special Forces Group, Green Berets. They're straight from China, dude. Mainland China. So there's a lot of that, actually. We don't have an actual foreign legion unit though. Could be drones. Palantir showed if showed it off, detected a face fly to it and blow it up and blow up. Okay, thank you. Great show, Nate. Great guest. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good show tonight, gang. Just checking in. Appreciate you. Chaley says, I love your streams. Watch them often when getting off work. Well, thank you very much. Glad to have you here. Glad to have all of you here. HLC Intel said that the Soviets already reverse engineered the F-15 and something shit came out. Okay. What role do you see National Guard Reserve taking place in the war? Nothing at the moment until we put ground troops on the ground. And then, yeah, they'll call National Guard and Reserve units in for sure. We did during the Global War on Terror all the time. By the way, I hate how they kind of consensual squad is looking like doing a thing that looks like Pentagon propaganda that was agreed on long before. No offense. I don't know what the kind of consensual squad is. Not sure what that is. Thank you, though. Thoughts on con theory? The Iron Dome is only fireworks show to scare the citizens. This is one I heard because how easily rockets get in. I watched a video on this, and part of me thinks the Iron Dome is not even real after watching this video. That it actually is just a propaganda tool, and it doesn't work at all. And it kind of makes sense based off of what we're seeing happen to our greatest ally right now with the missiles. They're not shooting down shit. So I think our Patriot missile batteries the United States gives them, that's actually been what's helping shoot down missiles. But I don't think I don't think the Iron Dome is real at all. I think it's probably just a huge propaganda tool that they use to make it seem like they're being attacked by Hamas all the time and Hezbollah, when in reality they're not. Just saying. I know that makes people upset, but from what I'm seeing, it seems to be the case. The more we're learning about it. As a veteran, does it bother you that Trump is threatening war crimes, attacking civilian infrastructure in Iran? Yes, it does. Obviously, it does. I don't. It disgusts me, actually, because this is not the way we operated when I was in combat. We weren't allowed to just bomb civilians indiscriminately. So, but times have changed, I guess. Funds for the Munchkin treats. Thank you very much. We got Munchkin emojis too, guys. Did you see the Munchkin emojis? We got Munchkin. I'll put Munchkin in there. Got the Munchkin emojis in here too. Spam Munchkin, baby. Love that one. Isn't that cool? We'll get more. We're getting more emojis too. Those were just the ones I was able to get up before we went live, because I finally remembered. Well, I didn't remember. Jasmine texted me and told me to remember, but at least we got some going. That's crazy. I told them the same things 45 years ago in college, Middle East. Yeah. An IR entry via the east, one of the stands. If you're going to do it, the east of Iran, yes, and Western Afghanistan in Herat. That's the easiest way in on the ground. I was saying Mueller was on to, Big E, and the algorithm won't let me type it. And then it went silent after his investigation. Interesting. I see what you're saying now. Official Rivera says, I actually fought in Ukraine. Okay. My take on the ground attack would expose the lack of modernity in the infantry, prior 11B. Okay. Well, I am not going to say, there was a lot of Americans that went and fought in Ukraine. So I'm going to assume you're telling the truth. And yeah, I'm sure you guys, there was a lot of lessons learned coming out of Ukraine about modern warfare for sure. Especially with drones. Bobby says, happy Easter to you and the family, Nate. Got to bug out and fix some baskets for the grandkids. Hell yeah, Bobby. Thank you so much. Thanks for the generosity and the big donation. Love having you here all the time, brother. Love it. Happy Easter to you and the fiance, or wife now. Sorry, wife. And the grandkids, man. Big J says, thank you, Nate, for your service and what you're doing on your show. Can't trust big networks being bought out by press billionaires, buddies. Another forever war for the elites. God bless and thank you. Yeah, it's bad now, especially with CNN being bought by the Ellisons. It's all trash. Newsmax, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, it's all garbage. All of it. If you could fast forward 6 months from now, what do you think the situation looks like? Probably what it looks like right now, to be honest. I don't see us. I say this, but who knows? I don't see us actually launching some massive ground campaign. Doesn't make any sense. Although it's not like this dude does what makes sense. But I also don't see an easy way out either. So we could very likely just be in this, whatever this is, whatever we're calling it. So, but hopefully we're done. Oh, gotcha. Like Pacific Rim. Yeah, kinda. It's the idea that like aliens are on the bottom of the ocean. Happy Resurrection Day. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, brother. Eddie Carrot, do you see Oracle 30K across multiple countries, layoffs without a warning to anyone? Today, they applied for 3K H1B1s. Larry freaking Nelson. Not shocked. A lot of those, all the big tech companies are doing massive layoffs as they transition to the new AI world, for sure. Amazon's doing it. Microsoft's doing it. A lot of the big companies are doing it. ZMAX says, also the economy's dog shit, so you're going to see layoffs as well. Good evening, sir. Not sure if you already said, but recently I'm going Marine Recon. Would you still recommend joining General? Yeah, I mean, I always recommend young men join. Right now is a little sketch right now. I've also suggested maybe go work construction for a year while we wait to see what the fuck happens with the world. But if you want to join, man, then yeah, still a great opportunity for young people for sure. Changed my entire life and the trajectory of my life. I would not have been as successful as I was if I didn't join the military. I probably would have ended up in jail, given where I was headed. Grand Bear says, if I remember Nostradamus correctly, WW3 pops off in 2027, and that the Antichrist comes from the Middle East. What if the Antichrist is BB? No, I don't think so, because he's very good looking and charming, and BB is neither of those. So I don't think he fits the description. I showing up at graduation at Paris Island now. I heard that grosses me out. if this is. I've heard rumors that this is happening. Also, like 90% of the Marine Corps is Hispanic. So the fact they're doing this and trying to like roll up people's parents at Marine graduations and family members disgusts me. I don't know if that story is actually true, but I have seen that. And when I saw the reporting on that, I was shocked. So I'm hoping that's not a true story, but it probably is. So it's absolutely disgusting, though. Young men who are signing up to serve the nation, and you're trying to nab up their family members and deport them at a graduation. I don't know if it's confirmed or not. I saw the reporting on it, but I didn't get an actual confirmation on it. But if that's true, that's horrific, absolutely horrific. Disgusts me completely. Yeah, not good. But I have seen this story, and it pissed me off when I saw it for sure. Do you see AOC cave to Anna Kasparian and others call out her fence sitting? She made a public statement that she will be voting no on future weapons aids. Yeah. Anna Kasparian roasted the shit out of her the other day, and AOC is now trying to be this anti-Zionist. But you got to watch out, because if you know how she started her campaign, she's got a lot of money, not from AIPAC, but from two very wealthy other people that you might want to look into. AOC is one you need to keep a very close eye on, because she's kind of like Gavin Newsom in that way, where her background is not quite what she leads on. Anon says, I know it's needs of the SF, but can your ethnic background sway your chances to joining a specific group? Oh, okay. This is a good question. For example, my background is Korean Thai with some decent understanding of Thai language. Also, my cat is a ragdoll. So let me explain this. Speaking a language is not going to have any effect in going to a specific Special Forces group. So for everybody watching, if you don't understand how Army Special Forces works, we have different groups, 5 main groups. Each of those groups handles a certain part of the world. So first Special Forces group that I was in mainly handles Asia. So we deploy to, places like the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, etc. Also, all of us go fight in the Middle East, or did during the Global War on Terror. But we have focuses like 7th group in Florida is focused on Latin America. 10th group is focused on Europe. So, yes, no. So no, not your language. Like if you could speak fluent Mandarin Chinese, but you're a white dude that looks like me, they don't give a shit. But if you're a Chinese dude, 100% Chinese, then you are most likely going to first group. And why is that? Because the way Green Berets operate, we want to actually be able to blend in with the local populace. And so Nate can sort of blend in with expats in Asia, but I'm not convincing anybody in Beijing that I'm Chinese. Same goes for Africa, right? So a lot of our black Green Berets are going to go work in 3rd and 5th group. So that's typically how it works. So yes, and if you're Spanish, right, or if you're from Mexico or Latin America, you're most likely going to end up in 7th group. So yep, that is an actual thing. But for the language itself, nobody cares. But if you have the actual ethnic background, that can play a role. Sorry for the long-winded response there. I was in 1st Space Brigade. Iron Dome is actually American Link 16. Interesting. I don't think many will take the military path citizenship with ICE attending graduations at Parris Island. Great point. Great point. Is the up-armored Humvee with a Mark 19 or M2 obsolete? An up-armored Humvee is obsolete. Yeah. Yeah. We use RG-33s and MATVs in special operations. Yeah, Humvees don't really do much, Unfortunately, they didn't do well with IEDs, you could say. We better get our shit together after all this. Yeah. Thank you, Minnie. Appreciate you. Orange says, do you think Trump could have worked in construction? He's tough. Technically, he did, right? He was a builder. He was in construction. I don't think he's ever constructed anything in his life, but like him himself with his hands. But he was technically in construction. Bay says, I have a feeling we're going to start seeing a lot of rebranded neocons by the time we get to the midterms. You're killing it, man. Let's link up soon. Dude, Bays, I was literally just talking to, I think, JD DeLay about this today, and I said, we are going to see, I guarantee the rats are going to start jumping off the ship, especially when the midterms roll around. And if we see a massive blowout slaughter and the Democrats take 100 seats in the House and sweep the Senate, you're going to see so many MAGA influencers and politicians jump ship and pretend they've been America first the entire time. Bookmark this moment. Remember that I said it. I can fucking guarantee you that is coming. MAGA is going to die after the midterms, and there are going to be so many of these little fuckers that are going to pretend that they've been America first the whole time, and they've been anti-MAGA, and they've been anti-Trump. It's fucking coming 100%, and we're not going to let them get away with it, okay? Not the ones we know are only doing it because, again, it's now because they're opportunists, right? We've been in the goddamn trenches taking community strikes and having our live streams yanked down. My boy Jimmy Watson, by the way, we need to talk about this because this is a big deal. You guys saw my episode just got nuked the other day, criticizing Kash Patel for no reason because of nudity. I've had multiple live streams ripped down for absolutely no reason. JD DeLay got a week ban for literally nothing the other day, showing something that Donald Trump posted on True Social. Dan from Heavy Duty Country just ate a massive community strike for making fun of Dan Bongino. Even I saw Keith Edwards, who's like, if you guys don't know who Keith Edwards is, he's a Democrat YouTuber. I actually watch his stuff. I like his stuff. He's obviously very against the war and critical of our greatest ally, but he's like the most PC dude ever. He's like the nicest dude ever. His channel, he said, his channel is getting censored and limited by YouTube as well. So they are going after everybody, and especially veterans. And this is the big one that just happened, which is absolutely disgusting. And that is our boy Jimmy Watson, Navy SEAL. You guys know he's in my content all the time. I'm using his shorts all the time. We love Jimmy. His entire 500,000 person Instagram account was nuked, deleted out of nowhere. And Jimmy does pretty mild content, although he's critical of our greatest ally and of the war. And they deleted his entire fucking YouTube channel. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the pinned comment because we've got tons of people watching. And the best we can do is to support Jimmy, especially just to support our veterans in general, that are all of us that are taking these attacks and beatings, is for you guys to go and follow him. Many of you probably already were following him and might not have realized that he got his channel nuked. But if you can, go over there, follow Jimmy, show him some support because he's in the trenches, just getting fucked over like the rest of us. Okay, so we got it in the pinned comment. For everybody watching after this, it's going to be in the description and pinned comment as well. Okay, because again, it's ugly out here, boys and girls. They do not want us talking about what we're talking about. I think Bays actually, he's in here right now. I think Bays had one of his live streams yanked down the other day as well. Yep, see? They're definitely going to nuke me once I'm worth nuking. Yeah. It's just is what it is. All right. So show support to the boys. And yeah, okay. I think we made it through. Did we make it through? Oh, we got a couple more. Would you do a video of the hostage crisis of 79? Probably not. I don't do historical stuff. Roy says, politics aside, saddest part for me is that we have brother and sister in harm's way, but I'm not even deployed. This is the worst FOMO ever. Yeah, you'll deal with that. You'll deal with that for sure. It was like that during the global war on terror the entire time when you weren't deployed and, maybe a different battalion was, and you'd have guys be getting killed and stuff. It's definitely hard. Will says a little something for the gas tank. Keep the content coming, bro. Thank you, brother. That'll give me about 3 gallons of gas. Also, you're in Japan. Very, very cool, man. Where are you at in Japan? Throw it in the chat. I lived in Okinawa for 3 years. Why do you think so many soft dudes are white? Seems disproportionate to the rest of the military. Not trying to start shit, just asking. No, you're not wrong. This is 100% true. The vast majority of special operators are white. A lot of Asians. Decent amount of Latinos, but yeah, I would say 70+% are white. Mostly, I think a lot of it has to do with our qualification courses. They're all in the woods. They're all at night. So, people like me grew up with a Green Beret as a dad, grew up, fishing and camping, and I was comfortable in the woods and pitch black at night and all those things, like swimming, all these different things that like I didn't really think about, but that don't fuck up your headspace compared to like somebody coming out of, an urban environment, like, downtown Chicago that's never seen the forest and then going into these training pipelines. Success rate is much, much lower. So the reality is like rednecks do pretty well in the Q courses. Okay. It just is what it is. All right. And so That's usually why it is. It's not so much anything other than that. But yeah, we got that one already. Thanks, Baze. Soren, you were right about the assignment to First Press Force Group for Chinese Americans, but if you were born foreign, your background check would be a bigger obstacle than. I'm going to surprise you on this one, brother. This is actually not true. Other than SFAS, I literally had to talk to FBI. Yeah. For that, you're going to have to do. For my background, I'm not even SF. But I will tell you this: I worked with 2 different Chinese nationals, and one of their I can't really get into the story. Both of their backstories did not make any sense. I'll just leave it at that. They supposedly like fled China, and they were from like rural communities, and like fled to Guam somehow. One of the guys I worked with, again, that was his backstory, and then I watched him hack into a what's called a soft deployable node, which is our satellite dishes we use for internet that's completely off of like regular internet. I watched him hack into it with nothing, and this is like something that's insanely hard to set up. He hacked into the firewall of it because the firewall went down. Don't even know how he did it. But hacked into it, reprogrammed the entire thing with no guide, which I don't know how that's possible, and then reset it up like it was nothing. And again, he supposedly came from some rural farming home in China. Yeah, sure you did, bud. Sure you did. But he was also a savage. He ended up actually getting Valor Awards in Afghanistan for some crazy combat and shit. So, and then he probably went back to China and, gave all our secrets away. Is what it is. But yeah, there's a lot of Asians in first group. A lot of Asians in first group, obviously. Give us Jimmy's new. Does it come to the new platform? He's on Instagram. It's in the pinned comment, right? Is it in the pinned comment, guys? Can you guys see Jimmy's Instagram in the pinned comment? Give me a yes if I put it up there. Sometimes the pinned comment doesn't work right when I do it. Yes. Okay. Good. Hey Nate, will you be doing gaming streams? Oh man, I want to eventually. I just right now is so crazy time wise for me because again we're still in the middle of moving. The new podcast studio is almost renovated, but like it's insane. Like I'm doing everything I can to keep up, bring the content to you guys with what I have. So eventually, once things slow down a little bit for me and we're all moved in, the podcast studio's done and everything's built, then we'll probably look into it. But right now, I just honestly don't have the time. I literally drive from my house to the studio to do content all day and then run back and try to help my wife with moving. So we'll get to it eventually. But right now, it's a little wild. We have VFT have Rumble as a backup. Yeah, we're up on Rumble too. Oh, I should probably make sure. Did we get some super chats? We got a super chat over there. We could read this one real quick. I'll pull this down. All right, so we got a super chat over on Rumble. It says, as a 20-year Marine veteran, Iraq and Afghanistan infantry, and later aviation, my problem with the Iran war is half-cocked nature of it. No plan, no prep, no chance. Couldn't be more angry. 100%, man. 100% agree with you. We've done. We did not do our due diligence before we entered this one for sure. Great show as always, Nate. Munchkin shirt and stickers came. Hell yeah, brother. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy the Munchkin. And part of the problem is now Munchkin's at the house. She's at the actual house, so I can't even bring Munchkin in for the streams right now. I just have just the studio at the old house. The old house is empty with just the studio because again we're waiting on the new podcast studio to be finished renovating. It's close though. I showed the backside of it on or the before over on Patreon yesterday. Normally here for $20 in jokes and quotes, but life gets in the way sometimes. Tricky tongue twisters twist tightly, tangling 10 tiny talented tigers' tongues till they totally tangle, tremble, and trip trying to talk. See, look at that. That's how it's done right there. See that? Nate's a savage. You can't even trip me up with a tongue twister. Just plowed right through that perfectly. Hell yeah. I guess I'm the goat of tongue twisters. Minneapolis says, as a trial attorney, I won a drug case based on a drug dog did not hit on a ball of coke in a closet, but cops went in after the dog found it. Jury tossed it. Holy shit! Well, would you look at that? That makes sense, and that's very, very similar to what we have with the bomb dogs and the rifle. Very cool story. Thanks for letting us know that. That does make sense, though. Rube says, Happy Easter, Nate, and everyone in the chat praying for no aliens on Sunday. Yes, please. Yes, Rubes. We need no aliens. We cannot handle the aliens. I am not equipped for anything crazier. This week has been insane. So as is. And God, we're on Friday, so usually the craziest shit happens on the weekends. So we might just be in the start of it. John says, how does Hegseth's purge have on troop morale, and what effect will that have on the war, if any? I don't know. I would guess it would, if we're purging a bunch of generals who are against a ground invasion, then I would say they're going to be replaced with loyalists, and it's much more likely that we'll end up escalating the war and in some type of ground invasion because we expelled all the generals who are against it. So it's not looking great, most likely. Or they just they don't respect Pete Hegseth at all, and he knows that, and he's throwing a little temper tantrum about it. That's probably got a lot to do with it too. They probably treat him like a pariah, and he's probably butthurt about it, if I had to guess. Do we drop YouTube and go to a different source, or stay here? What do you prefer? No, I mean, stay here on YouTube, man. We got Rumble as a backup. I'm on Spotify, Apple, Facebook, everything now. So you can really watch me anywhere. Or on Rumble. But YouTube's fine. It's my main channel here. Have you ever been part of a Mighty Guardian mission? I have not. Nope. Nate, you continue to serve America with your show. Thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I try to do, I guess. Roy says, I'm studying laws, hoping to become a JAG. Separations of power, rules of law, and democratic legislative system is what set America apart from countries like China. Just wasn't expecting what happened now. Yeah, we need good JAGs, though, because good JAGs are the ones that stop war crimes. For those of you who don't know, a good JAG will not let the ground force commander or whoever's in charge of dropping the bombs drop the bombs. So we do need good JAGs, and not JAGs like Lindsey fucking Graham. For those of you who don't know, Lindsey Graham was an Air Force JAG. He was the one giving legal advice to a commander about dropping bombs on people. So think about how that probably went. So big yikes. Silence gifted 5 VFT memberships. Well, thank you, Silence. Thank you. That's nice of you. All right, final super chat. We made it. Leaving April 21st for the 18 X-ray. Your videos helped me out a lot, man. A lot of back and forth dialogue with myself about the current situation of the world, but then I realized it's been like this for decades. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Vietnam was a thing, right? My dad was a Green Beret in Vietnam, so the 20-year global war on terror, it's always going to be crazy. Good luck to you, man. It's not easy, but put your head down, make sure you're in good enough shape to make it through, and don't quit. Don't quit is like 70 to 80% of it, not quitting, to be honest. And what I always the advice my dad gave me, because again, my dad's a Green Beret, so I was a little bit lucky to have that. A lot of good advice before I went. Best advice he gave me is they can't kill you. And when you're in moments in training where you feel like you're going to die and you think it's the worst thing ever, just remember that they're not going to kill you. And it always two pieces of advice. They can't kill you. Everything ends eventually. If you remember those two things, you can make it through anything. Just remember those two things. All right, last one. When you thought you made it. Yeah. All right, guys, we did it. Pow! 3.5 hours. That's a pretty decent show tonight. Pretty decent show. Thank you all so much. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for all the support. Make sure to go follow our boy Jimmy Watson on his new Instagram channel. Make sure you go follow Aaron Love on Aaron Loves America. Go follow Chris Piota on his YouTube channel. I will, as soon as this video is up, I will get the links to all their channels in the description and pinned comment. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I like episodes when I have really expert guests, because I get to learn a ton of shit too. And I learned a ton of stuff tonight on both, the FBI, the way trials work, and especially CSAR through Aaron. So again, thank you all so much. Thanks to the mods for being here. Thanks to all of you. We will be back Tuesday for our regular scheduled show. I got a lot of guests lined up, a lot of cool guests. I'm trying to navigate getting everybody on with how crazy the news cycle is. So be looking out for some cool stuff. If anything insane happens, guys, like massively insane over the weekend, like we launch a ground invasion or some shit like that, then we will probably launch a live, probably around 5 p.m. on either Probably not Easter, but on Saturday if something crazy happens. Okay. So be on the lookout for that. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much. Happy Easter to all of you if you celebrate. And yeah, we will catch y'all in the next live stream. Have a good night, guys.